With 4 rounds of racing down and Caleb Russell seemingly dominating the XC1 Pro class in GNCC racing, the stage is set for possibly something big and huge to happen in GNCC racing today. Hello everyone, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Welcome to GNCC Live and round number 5 of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the 2015 AMSOIL GNCC presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship. And as we said, Caleb Russell's been on a big roll, but there's been a lot of folks that are really gunning for him here today, and with conditions the way that they are, there's a possibility something big might shake loose. Yesterday we had cloud cover, rain, and lots of mud. What that left us with here today was lots of mud. The cloud cover's gone, and we've got beautiful blue skies to take us through today's race day. What's that going to mean in the end for us all? Well, we're going to find out. Let's check in with Matt Watson, though, before we get things started.
All right, hey, thanks a lot, Rodney. And of course, we're here in Springville, Indiana for round 5 of 2015 GNCC. Speaking of the racing, we have KR1, Caleb Russell, undefeated so far. But a lot of guys want to put an end to that today. One of those guys being the number 9 machine right here of Chris Bach. Of course, you also have Thad Duvall. You also have Josh Strang. All these guys wanting to step up and put a stop to the Caleb Russell freight train. Speaking of runaways, we have the XC2, which is not a runaway by any means. Nick Davis, Trevor Bollinger, Lane Michael, all in the hunt, all aggressive, and all looking to step up their game and get to the top of the box today. Back to you, Rodney.
Today in points. He rides aboard the number 2, a former GNCC champion himself, hailing from Australia on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line third today in points. He rides aboard the number 314. The rookie, a former XC2 Pro Light Class champion. He is from Belton, South Carolina on an in-cab Ampo Yamaha. Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line fourth today in points aboard the number 989 from Williamstown, West Virginia on the Rocky Mountain ATV MC KR4 Hardback Husqvarna. Bad, Duvall. Rolling to the line today, 5th in points, with a couple of podiums already this season. Riding aboard the number 9 from Crown Point, Indiana. On the JCR back Honda, Chris Bach. Rolling to the line today, 6th in points. He rides aboard the number 3 from Cookeville, Tennessee on an in-fab Ampo Yamaha, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line today, 7 points aboard the number 264. He hails Texas back, KTM back, fly back KTM, Chris Douglas. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 12, a former GNCC, that's Japanese cross-country champion. From Japan, on the 18th Honda, Takeshi Koikena. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 25 from Morrison, Illinois, on a Fun-Mart Cycle KTM tagged by Fly Racing and Ride KTM. Adam Bodor. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 6, the current and defending national enduro champion from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania, on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna factory racing Husky. And last and certainly not least, from Australia, one of the off-road greats, and down under, on an NFAB Ampro Yamaha, Daniel Milner. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this, the Limestone 100 GNCC. And as we turn our focus down to the first turn, Ricky Towery, our maestro, if you will, the conductor of ceremonies, will find his position in that first turn. Let the folks know to fire him up as we are now less than 2 minutes away from our starting sequence getting underway here in the great state of Indiana. As we said, 13 of the world's premier XC1 riders are on this starting line today. And if you take a look at this starting line, one of the most unique starts that you will be faced with as far as GNCC racing is concerned. Located on the side of a hill, an all-camber start going into an all-camber first turn. That sends you up into another second turn, which is a little off-camber itself. But at the same time, you've got to jockey your position to try to find the front of the pack before you reach turn number 3, and then finally roll into the wooded section, the first wooded section here at the Lawrence County Recreation Park for the Limestone 100 GNCC. All attention beginning to focus down near that first turn region as our start sequence is about to get underway, and Ricky Towery makes his way up to inform these riders 1 minute before the start of the Limestone 100 GNCC. Some 230 riders are on this starting line today. As we said, 13 of these riders are XC1 Pro class, our XC2 Pro Light class, and the up-and-comers back there on row number 2. Both classes will be going for whole shot awards. The XC1 Pro, the all-balls, $250 whole shot award, and of course our XC2 Pro Light whole shot award also being brought to you by your friends in hot camps where you can unleash the power within. And the blue flags are out. We are now less than 30 seconds away. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. And I got to ask you, Indiana race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Indiana. I know the Hoosier State loves GNCC a little more than that. You got to do it for me one more time. I'm going to ask you, are you ready to go Limestone 100 GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at this Limestone 100 GNCC. south at Johnson Johnson. 10 seconds. Sean Morris from Waynesburg, PA. I think he's got
4. I'm coming back to your shop to follow these guys. It's our XC2 class. We're getting ready for a commercial. Go ahead and send it, Rodney.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best? The best. You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
For those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
This Racer TV live broadcast is brought to you by Amsoil, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
All right, we're back to racing action here at the Limestone 100, Springville, Indiana. We got underway and had a little bit of drama here early with Caleb Russell going down in turn 2. We're going to have to see how that shapes up. We've actually seen the leaders come by on the backside of the pro pits, and they should be working their way towards the finish here real soon, joined by Matt Mega Watson. And we're here today. What do you think? The conditions are a little bit slick out there for the morning, but it looks like they're tacking up pretty well here early.
I tell you, Johnny, I just got to talk to Brian and some of the guys. They said the track crew went out, did the sweep, and they said it's ideal right now. Just as we knew, they would ride the track in, and we have perfect conditions for this afternoon's race.
You know, with the weather conditions leading up this weekend, we knew the rain was in the forecast. The GNCC track crew did a phenomenal job of laying out a track that would provide some great racing action, and we're seeing that already here early. But to see how quickly, when this Indiana sun came out, this place has dried up, it's really been phenomenal how much the conditions have changed since our youth race at 8 a.m., our amateur race at 10 a.m., and now here we are with our pro race at 1 p.m. And man, the fields are tacking up nice, but don't let the conditions deceive you, folks. We're going to see in just a few moments here when we cut to our leaders coming through in the woods at any time. You're going to see there's still some gnarly conditions lurking just below the woods line here in Springville.
As you mentioned, Johnny, this was a totally different park at 6:30 this morning. Totally different conditions for the youth race, then leading into the amateur race. And holy cow, like you said, don't be deceived, because there's still some really slick spots out there and going to be some spots that are going to lead to alternate lines.
You know, and here we are working on completing our first lap of racing action. Just to let the folks that are at home know, the track is a little bit shorter on this first lap. The start line was just past the 2-mile marker, so we're going to see a little bit quicker lap time here for lap 1, and then soon after, once they enter into lap 2, they'll run that first 2 miles of track, jump back in where the start was. So we'll see the lap times change a little bit. Probably won't be able to tell you exactly how many lap race we'll have until maybe we get 3 laps or more in the books, and then we'll be able to calculate from there.
Yeah, once we get about 3 laps in, Johnny, we should be able to take those lap times, make a good estimate, and let everybody know exactly what we'll be looking at on the length of this race.
And how about that little bit of a drama there at the start with Caleb Russell going down early? We've seen Caleb has been able to seemingly sprint away early in several of these first 4 rounds of 2015. And today, you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens when they check in at the finish line. But as of right now, him being down in the second turn on the ground, that adds just a little bit of drama here early.
Johnny, if we look at history, though, we've seen Caleb in that position before last season. And let me tell you what happens when Caleb gets behind or goes down early. Man, that lights his fire.
You know, as if Caleb Russell needed any more motivation. Undefeated so far in 2015, I'm sorry. Obviously, your multi-time and defending champion. You know, this guy's on rails right now, but it just goes to show anything can happen in GNCC racing. A little bit slick out there still. Now, keep in mind, off the start, that's a section that was only run just off the start for the morning race. So the rest of the track where it's tacked up and had some riders go through and blow that mud off, that was still slick. I didn't actually get to see it happen, but I heard the crowd ooh and ah, and I knew something had gone down, and then I heard over the radio that Caleb had found himself on the ground early and having to come from behind. So I didn't actually see the exact order as they worked their way back past the pro pits there at about the 5-mile marker, on the backside of the pro pits, I should say. But I did see it look like Josh Strang running in either second or third place. So the usual suspects we can assume are up front. I did see some blue up front there of Grant Baylor and Jordan Ashburn. Those guys were up front off the start. You know, it seems like it's the usual suspects up front.
Like you mentioned, very slick out there. You don't get a berm in the first turn because it's only used for the starts, like you mentioned. A little bit slick out there. And it just looked like a simple loss of traction for Caleb. And next thing you know, picking himself up. Now, we look, here comes bad Thad Duvall up over the bars, putting a charge on right now. But back to Caleb, when he picked that bike up, it was wide open, pennant, and typical Caleb fashion to catch up.
You know, we saw Thad Duvall put in a heck of a ride here last year, and with him leading early in lap 1, looks like that is Jordan Ashburn in second, Grant Baylor in third, Caleb Russell up to fourth, Ryan Sipes in fifth, and that appeared to be Josh Strang in sixth, Andrew DeLong in seventh. We'll have to see if we can get our live scoring up here, but that's what it looked like the top 7 was from sitting here. Now these guys now have 1 mile complete. There we see Chris Bach, who was actually last before Caleb went down off the start, and he has worked his way up to the number 8 place position. So these guys are all nose to tail. We're seeing some good action. Now they're working their way through the VP Fuels Pro Row, and Thad Duvall leading the way. And I got to tell you, Thad Duvall's been seemingly gaining a little bit of confidence every week, week in and week out. And today, with him grabbing the lead early, you just never know what could happen. Maybe we can see Thad Duvall just pull away with this one.
You know, Johnny, I had a chance to talk to Chad Duvall today, Thad's dad. We spent a few minutes over there in the pits, and we talked about the new Husqvarna. We talked about Thad's style. We talked about the handling of the bike, and he was saying how much easier it is to get the Husqvarna to turn and how well they've been able to get the bike dialed here in just the first 4 rounds. So here we are at round 5, and typical Thad Duvall, man, on the charge early here. And as you mentioned, KR1 already working his way up into the 4th position. So a lot of action already on this first lap.
Yeah, he was 4th when we saw him at the finish line, and by the time they made it to the pro pits about an 1/8 of a mile later, he was up to 3rd. He'd put the pass on Grant Baylor. So Caleb's on the charge here early. Definitely, you know that's always how it's going to be. He's not going to let these guys get away, but there we had a little bit of excitement there for a while, and still some exciting action with 7 guys nose to tail.
Absolutely. What happens right now is Caleb gets in that mode. Caleb gets focused. Caleb gets the scent of blood, you know, when he's back there. And you know what? That gives the other guys a lot of motivation, too, because you can bet Thad knows exactly where he's at. Thad's going to pin it right now and try to make a break for it.
Well, you know, with Thad being out front, it's a great time to talk about what we've seen is the evolution of Thad Duvall. As we see our top guys in XC2 working their way through, we see, looks like Ricky Russell. I did see Nick Davis in there. There's Jason Thomas. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the top XC2 guys pretty much nose to tail there. So we're seeing that in both the XC1, XC2. I think we can attribute that to the slick conditions. These guys just aren't really pushing the pace. Nobody's trying to sprint away. You know, Thad known for his blazing speed, but these guys are hanging right with him in that XC1 class. You got to believe that, you know, he's playing it just a little bit conservative with the conditions the way they are. But again, back to Thad. We've seen him, the wild child, out there, you know, running it in every corner, and so exciting to watch. And then we've seen this year a really kind of evolved, matured, definitely, at least partially, the, I guess, the influence of Fred Andrews and that KR4 program. Obviously, Chad Duvall, a great rider in his own right, for many years has been a great influence on Thad over the years. But to see how calm, cool, collected he's been, even though through some adversity this year, they've had some bike problems, he was able to get back out there and score some points. I think we're seeing a new and improved Thad Duvall right now.
You know, I hope so, Johnny. You may not know, I had the pleasure of assisting Thad all through his mini career and actually up through his lights title, the dealership. We helped supply some equipment and things with him. And man, I've known Thad since he was 10 years old. And you talk about wild child, man, he was, as you know. And as he's come through, and you talk about the evolution of Thad, smoothing out the rough edges, having his dad as a multi-time GNCC champion, having Fred in his corner and that type of thing, I think that's really just put another angle, another twist on Thad's program right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Thad's one of the riders we've talked about so many times that came up through the youth program of GNCC Racing. Was actually riding for Ampro Yamaha as an amateur. Now he's worked his way up through, as you mentioned, amateur titles, XC2 title, and now he's here in the pro class. Has been here for several years, but to see him evolve to a true championship contender week in and week out, that's what we've been waiting to see out of Thad, and it seems like he's ready to deliver. You know, one thing that we do know Thad has to tackle out there, and I almost said Chad. You know, Chad in his day won many races. It looks like, you know, Thad's already done so and will continue to keep winning. But we know he's got to tackle the track today, and this track is very dynamic. We mentioned the conditions. We mentioned the rain leading up to this weekend, and now we'll get the lowdown on the track from the man in the know, Barry Hogg.
Hello, everyone. We've originally had about 11-mile track laid out here, but conditions got pretty nasty yesterday, so we've cut the track down to about 9 miles. When the guys take off of the start, as soon as they get in the woods, they're going to get on some of the ATV track from yesterday, and it got pretty tore up. But there's plenty of good lines around most of the mud holes where the ATVs tore up. Where we could, we tried to avoid the ATV track with a lot of reroutes, so it was a late night last night and early day this morning getting out there setting stuff up. But once the guys get past the 3-mile marker out to the 5-mile marker, at the 5-mile marker they're going to go up a long uphill, and that's where we're going to have one of the cameras stationed there. Once they get past that, they're going to come out along some trackside pitting past the 6-mile marker, past a checkpoint. That's where they're going to make a hard left and drop down another really steep, long downhill. Once they get down that downhill, they got to immediately go back up the other side. It's not too steep, but there's plenty of lines up that hill, so I think that'll be an interesting point of the race. From there, out towards the 7-mile marker to the 8-mile marker. Just after the 8-mile marker, they're going to drop down into a dried-up creek bed, and it's really wide, but it's going to get really, really rough down in there, so it's going to get whooped out. Once they get out of that creek section, they're going to turn and go back up towards the 9-mile marker into the finish. They're going to go through the finish, then through pro pits, and then tie in around the 2-mile marker where they started at. So the first lap's going to be shorter for them than the rest of the laps all day. It's going to be 2 miles shorter, but the overall track conditions, I think with the sun out, it's tacking up. It's getting pretty good, but there's a lot of holes out there. I think if guys are looking straight down at their front fender, they could drive in a hole and get stuck. If they're paying attention and looking pretty far ahead of them, there's plenty of good lines around those holes. So other than that, it should be an interesting race, and hopefully everybody enjoys it and can leave here with a smile on their face.
Well, there it is. There's your track description from 8-time GNCC champion and now Lieutenant Trail Boss, Barry Hogg. You know, these guys really worked hard this weekend. As we mentioned, you know, we've seen the weather forecast all week long, 100% chance of rain yesterday. Everybody knew it was coming. We know how these Indiana races can get when they get wet, but, you know, they've done a phenomenal job. I was actually out there walking around this morning during the amateur race, and, you know, they were rerouting, they were changing. This course has been built, rebuilt, resurrected, and these guys have actually got a great race course. You know, as we mentioned, there's certainly some technical spots that are going to throw up some troubles for not only the top guys, but everybody after them. But, you know, the majority of this race course is very raceable and in great condition. One other thing that's great, we've got the AMSOIL Twitter contest. If you're watching us at home or if you're here at the track, if you can find some self-service, make sure you get involved in this. Tweet your podium, finish your predictions to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL products. Now keep in mind, the winner's chosen at random. You do not have to be right. You just have to pick who you think the top 3 are going to be at the end of the day today overall. And if you get it in, and if you get your submission in today, at some point during the show, we'll be announcing who who the winner is, and that's $250 in AMSOIL products. Generous giveaway from AMSOIL there.
What a great opportunity from our sponsors there at AMSOIL, a way to get everybody involved in the day's activities. Hey, Johnny, let's take a look right now at our XC2 standings as they came through. Ryder Lafferty grabbing the whole shot this afternoon in the XC2 Pro Lights. Now, Ryder coming from a family of off-road riders. Uncle Mike, of course, having, I believe, 8 Enduro championships. And Ryder really wasn't a decorated mini bike rider. We didn't really hear a lot about him. And I want to tell you something. That guy come out, laid down the start today, focused, and he knows what the mission is at hand. And as they come through, he was still leading the way.
Yeah, for him to be leading at the end of lap 1, obviously getting the XC2 Whole Shot Award, you know, that's a great honor in its own right. But to be leading after a lap with some of the best XC2 riders in the world, you know, these guys they're specialists on the light bike, on the 250F. And Ryder Lafferty, he's young, but he's hungry. We saw him run really well, I believe it was North Carolina, or maybe it was South Carolina. He was up inside the top 5 or 7 for quite some time. And, you know, he's really coming into his own. As you mentioned, comes from a very highly decorated family of racers. Oh, and here we see, looks like a little bit, that's a lapped rider there. Thad Duvall still in the lead, 5-mile marker, hard on the gas, and it looks like Jordan Ashburn still in his shadow there. We'll have to wait and see, and there is Jordan. So we've got Thad Duvall out front, Jordan Ashburn in second, Caleb Russell in third, and that appeared to be Grant Baylor in fourth. So there's your top 4. Here we see there's Josh, is that Strang or is that DeLong? We're going to have to figure out which of the two. They've got the same bike, the same gear, it's just a different color Camelback. So that was either Strang or DeLong there, and there's Chris Bach. So that should be your top 6 or 7 as they work their way up a slick rocky hill climb at the 5-mile marker. Now, Megawatt, just after this, it opens up into some fields, and these guys are going to have an opportunity to see exactly where they're at and where they are in comparison to the riders they're trying to track down. So they're really going to up the intensity after that.
Yeah, for sure, Johnny. You being a longtime pro, you know the importance of being able to see that guy in front of you, judging the distance. That really gives you some motivation. It gives you the information of what we need to do to close that gap, how big that gap is, and it's always easier when you can see that guy.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, when you can see somebody in front of you, gives you that extra motivation just to push that little bit harder. And it's kind of like the old, I guess you would say the rabbit chasing, the tortoise chasing the hare kind of a thing. You can be slower, but if you can see him, it gives you that little bit extra oomph. You can go after him. If you can see him, you can catch him. That's just how it works in GNCC race.
Absolutely, much easier. Get a smell of blood, see that fender, latch onto it. You know, a lot of times you're going to see a line that you didn't see. You're going to find a hole that wasn't there by following that guy, and then you know where you have your positions. You know where your spots are. So I don't mean
to cut in here, Matt, but here comes our XC2 battle, and that is now in the lead. We have Nick Davis. Just behind him, that was Craig DeLong in second. And, man, these guys, again, nose to tail, going hard at it. It's hard to believe the intensity these XC2 guys bring, even so early in the race. We're 1 lap and 5 miles into racing action, and these guys are just hard on the gas. That's Trevor Bollinger in third. I couldn't see who a couple of the other. I see Ricky Russell in there. Looks like there's Lane Michael, who we saw was quite a ways back in the pro pits. Now he's interjected himself into that battle. So these guys, there's 7, 8, maybe 9 of these guys that are nose to tail. I mean, they're hard on the gas. They don't want to let these guys get away. Nick Davis has had a couple of bad races in a row, but he wants to get back up there on that XC2 podium and win races. He wants to put himself back into the discussion about winning this title.
No doubt about it, Johnny, and he has the ability to do so. And when you talk about these XC2 guys, they are hungry. They want to be known as the next up-and-comer. They want to be the next big thing. And as you saw right there, the first 6 guys, we saw almost 5 different lines up over that rocky hill, each one of them searching side to side from that track, trying to look for an advantage.
Well, that's something I think we're going to see a lot as this race progresses. Lines opening up. It's so slick out there. You know, yes, it did tack up quite a bit from this morning and obviously from yesterday, but it continues to be slick, and these guys are, and I believe that's Mike Witkowski, who was injured at one of our earlier rounds, had, I think, some broken ribs or a broken collarbone, and it looks like he is back out there. He was 11th at the finish line at the end of lap 1, and he's worked his way up, possibly just a little bit from there. So good to see him back and out there battling in that XC2 class. But as I was saying, these lines are going to continue to open up. We're going to see this course continue to get better, and it's only going to lead to even better racing action than we've already seen so far. And with these guys nose to to tail battling like this, I don't know how it can really get any better.
Johnny, I was just getting ready to say, I don't know how it can get much better. These guys are finishing within 1, 2, and 3 seconds of each other after 3 hours of racing. They've proven it week in and week out, and each one of them may have had one bad round or a couple bad rounds by now, but they've always been in the mix. These guys know each other. They grew up racing together, and like I said a little bit ago, it's an opportunity right now to be known as the up-and-comer, to be the man right now, and the guy to look out for, and each one of these guys take that serious.
You know, in the XC2 class, the story this year has really been mistakes. We've had so many guys that seemed like they were ready to take the point position. We had Nick Davis take a commanding win at the opening round. Then we saw Jason Thomas fight back and take, a nail-biter at round 2. And then at round 3, the proverbial business hit the fan, and David. Oh, and here we see our leaders working their way through at the 7-mile marker. That's Thad Duvall still in the lead. We see Jordan Ashburn in second, Caleb Russell hot on his heels in third, but these guys are still staying real close together. There we see all the mechanics. They got the signal boards out, and I couldn't see who that was in fourth, but I believe it was in fact Strang, and that's possibly DeLong in fifth. So these guys are, and there we see Grant Baylor now in the 6th place spot. And that was actually, I think, DeLong in 7th. So that would be, most likely would have been Strang then that was in 5th. So it's hard to tell those Husky guys apart. And here we see Chris Bach now working his way through, using an outside line, trying to find some traction here. As this track shapes up, we're going to see these guys push the pace even harder. But to see these guys racing this hard nose to tail like this early, it shows us we're in for a long 3 hours here.
Oh, that's for sure, Johnny. And you mentioned the track looks deceiving on the camera and to the spectator standing trackside. But as we watched Chris Bach come through there a minute ago, you mentioned he went outside. He was looking for the fringe, looking for that traction. And as we watch the riders go through, you can see how shiny that is underneath. So let me tell you, throttle control, finesse, good line choice, going to be critical today, Johnny.
And that was Stu Baylor we saw just working our way through working his way through our shot there. And Stu put in a heck of a ride at the last round. He's been overcoming. He had an injury just before the GNCC season started and had to miss the first couple of rounds, came back, and he's just been on fire. He's been improving every week, and a little bit of a slow start for Stu here so far here at round 5, but I wouldn't be surprised. That's one thing with those Baylor boys. It's just amazing how hard they pour it on near the end of a race. It seems like that 3rd hour, they just get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Incredible racers. I've had the opportunity to watch those guys and follow them because they were the main competitors of a lot of the guys I worked with as a younger, whether it was Thad or whether it was Lane. And let me tell you, the Baylors, they do their homework, they come prepared, they're in shape. And let me tell you what they do. They ride their motorcycles, Johnny. That's what those guys do. They ride their bikes, and that's what they live for. And the proof is in the pudding every Sunday when the flag drops.
Well, here's one thing that the proof is in the pudding. Stu Baylor's teammate, that appears to be, let's wait to make sure, yep, Trevor Bollinger has taken over the lead in XC2. So this just gets wilder and wilder. It looks like Nick Davis in 2nd, Craig DeLong in 3rd, Jason Thomas in 4th as they work their way through at the 7-mile marker. And here comes the rest. Can't tell exactly who that was. That appears to be Corey Buttrick there in 7th. So these guys, again, as we mentioned, just nose to tail, pushing each other hard here early. And, it seems like, I could be wrong, but we're going to have to check our overall. Those guys are pretty close to leaders. That we might see an XC2 rider break their way into the top 5 or 6 overall here.
There's been talk about that for a long time. Can it happen? Is it going to happen? When will it happen? And when you take a look at the pace these guys are carrying right now and you start figuring some time, hey, today could be the day, Johnny. We had 4 guys separated by less than 8 seconds right there. So you're talking about 2, 3, maybe a 4-second gap between 4 guys, but it might be 1 second between this guy, 3 seconds between this guy. So we got a race going on.
As we look at our overall at the end of lap 1, it was actually Ryder Lafferty who wasn't leading that XC2 class. He was 9th overall, and if you look at the elapsed time, he was only about, I believe that's 1 second out of 6th overall. So, and actually only, yeah.
That's exactly what you're looking at, Johnny.
Yeah, he was just a few seconds out of the top, looks like out of a top 5 position. So as these XC2 guys stay hard on the gas, unless these XC1 guys start pushing things, we might see some XC2 riders work their way not only in the top 5 overall, but possibly into the top 3. And obviously, Matt, we've seen that before with Grant Baylor. We've seen it before with Thad Duvall back in his XC2 days. But it's exciting to see here possibly in 2015. At least early, these guys are pushing one heck of a pace, and we might see them work their way even further up in the overall standings.
We saw a little more steadier look between Thad and Caleb and the guys on the big bikes. But let me tell you, those 4 guys that are coming right now on the lights, look out. They're going to get that momentum. They're going to pull each other through. A lot of times you hook up with one rider or so, and it might slow you down. You might drag each other down. But when you get in a pack like that, one guy's going to establish dominance, and the other 3 aren't going to like it. So those guys just might really pull each other to the front.
Well, and another thing that happens when you have that many guys battling that closely is you end up finding some good lines because everybody kind of works their way off the beaten path, kind of looking for passes, and they're pushing each other so hard. They stumble onto some good lines, they stumble onto some good stamina, and they stumble onto quite a bit of drive. And, we're seeing that here early, but as we run down the top 10 overall, at the end of lap 1, as we said, Thad Duvall leading, Jordan Ashburn in second. We did have Grant Baylor in third. We now know that is Caleb Russell. Ryan Sipes in 5th, Josh Strang in 6th, Andrew DeLong 7th, Chris Bach 8th, and the leader in our XC2 class was Ryder Lafferty, was 9th overall, followed by Nick Davis 2nd place in that XC2 Pro Lights. We know those guys have shaken things up a little bit in that XC2 class. We've seen that on camera, but we're certainly going to keep a watchful eye here to see what we can see next, and as soon as we get a good camera feed here and can see exactly what's going on in the battles out there. So apparently they're working their way through the finish now. As we refresh here, we see Thad Duvall leading, Caleb Russell in 2nd, and just 2.3 seconds behind them. Jordan Ashburn is in 3rd, Ryan Sipes now in 4th, and again, only 1.4 seconds behind Russell is Ashburn, Sipes just behind him in 4th, and we wait. Now we've had 5th place at Josh Strang check in, 6th place Grant Baylor, and we wait on 7th place. So we've had our top 6 check in. Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, Jordan Ashburn, Ryan Sipes, Josh Strang, and Grant Baylor are through the finish line chicane, and now they're working their way through the VP Fuels Pro Row. Thad Duvall out front, directly on his rear wheel. Caleb Russell charging hard, directly behind him. Oh, we've got Sipes. Looks like he tried to make a move as they went into the woods there on Ashburn for 3rd, and then Josh Strang in 5th, and there we see Grant Baylor in 6th. So these guys all still within striking distance. They can all see each other. And now we'll get, as we wait for our XC2 leaders to come through, we'll get a word from some of our sponsors here.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless.
General RV is going to help you go camping with locations across the nation and thousands of RVs to choose from. General RV is the nation's largest family-owned RV dealer. At General RV, you'll save thousands on everything from trailers that sleep the whole family right up to motorhomes that are amazing and so economical to travel in. General RV is the only dealer who can show you this much and save you this much with a great
racing, all kinds of racing. How about pro motocross? flat track, road race, ATV, GNCC, Supermoto, Enduro Cross. Well, we've got what you're looking for. Welcome to the Racer X Show with Greg White, presented by Chaparral Motorsports. New every Tuesday on RacerTV.com.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin now joining you along with Johnny Gallagher and Megawatt Matt Watson out and back. Going to be giving us some updates from out in the pits and out on the track and so forth as we welcome you back to now lap number 3 of this Limestone 100 GNCC. 42 minutes and we'll call it 43 minutes now into this race, Johnny Gallagher. Thad Duvall out front, Caleb Russell in second, Jordan Ashburn in third. That's been our front runners pretty much from the drop of the green flag, except for the initial early stages of the race where Caleb Russell was actually one of the front runners, went down in that second turn out there, got up dead last, was able to work his way up to a top 3. And you know, rolling through this race still early in the race, lap number 3, a pretty tight battle. 2 seconds separating first and second, and only a second and a half back to the number 3 spot. We've got ourselves one of the more intense battles that we've seen so far here in 2015, Johnny. And, you know, whether or not this is an indication of the hype that I brought into this race today or not, as to this could be the game changer heading into the heart of the 2015 season, this certainly is showing some signs of something different happening today anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think that's a combination of a few different things there, Rodney. We've got some iffy track conditions to start this race off. Nobody quite knew what to expect. With the weather we had yesterday, as destroyed as the track got. And then early today, you know, it was starting to tack up a bit, but as we saw, Caleb had some unsure traction there in the first couple turns, hit the deck like you mentioned, and these guys are kind of trying to push a pace, but at the same time, nobody wants to go down. So what we've seen is, so far, we've seen 6 riders nose to tail, 7, even at times 8 in that XC1 class, and a torrid battle of snarl in the XC2 class. I mean, these guys are just nose to tail, rev limiters popping, everybody's going crazy. So, combination of the hype that you brought into this race, the weather conditions, the track conditions, and then these guys just really wanting to take a shot at Caleb, you know, and I think on top of that list is Thad Duvall, and so far he's doing, and when I say taking a shot, let me clarify, I mean, they want to take a win from it.
Yes, they most certainly do, and that's one thing that Thad and I were talking about pre-race today during the pre-race reports. He said, you know, all it's going to take is one person to be able to beat Caleb, and if one person can do it, then other folks are going to realize that Caleb isn't unbeatable, and he said he hopes he's the one that can be able to do it, but he also realizes that, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into that. There's a lot of luck, there's a lot of variables, and right now he's got himself in a pretty good position in the early part of this race. First and foremost, he's running right there with Caleb. Caleb, you know, to match that pace, that's got to be an ultimate feeling for those guys right now, because not only you got those 2, but you also, I didn't count in Ryan Sipes there, who was only 1 second behind as well. I mean, you got 4 riders that are riding a very intense pace right now, and you got to wonder, is Caleb Russell showing all of his cards right now? And is Caleb Russell maybe starting to think a little conservatively as we head toward the middle part of the season? Because though, you know, we hyped it up a little bit at the beginning of the season, can Caleb Russell complete the perfect season? Here we are 4 rounds in looking at 5, and, you know, is it something that might be coming to play in his mind? Even though you don't think it is, at the same time, there's that possibility that it may be slipping in there, and I know that he's trying to keep it out as much as possible, but man, when you start winning like this and you're on top of the world, sometimes you might take a look around and say, what's going on here? And if you overthink things, it could put you maybe a little bit up against the wall, a little bit more than what you probably should be or could be. But then again, take into consideration his experience as a champion, that might help weigh it out and even it all out for him. And even in this battle, even if it does weigh into his brain, he might be able to overcome any thoughts that might actually present themselves there.
You know, one thing that I know for sure, Rodney, is I don't talk about perfect seasons or win streaks or anything like that, because I don't want to be the guy who jinxes it. So I'm going to leave that ball in your court, and I'm going to go ahead and say, sure, I agree and disagree with everything that you just said. But one thing we do know for sure, as we look at our top 3 overall, this is kind of a unique situation. I'm sure we have seen it before, but we've got Thad Duvall in the lead, Caleb Russell in second, Jordan Ashburn in third, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these are all former youth GNCC riders. So we've got 3.
Wow.
The top 3 riders on the track right now have all been former youth GNCC racers, and we actually had some youth racing happen earlier today.
Yeah.
And Jesse Ansley, who ended up grabbing the win, maybe someday we'll see out here battling for an overall win, but let's check in with Jesse and see how his day went today.
All right, hello, Racer TV fans. Here we are after the youth morning race here, our 8 o'clock race, the first race of the day at the Limestone 2015. Now, Jesse, you're no stranger to the podium, man. You're no stranger to all kinds of conditions here in GNCC. Tell us how this one ranks in amount of toughness.
This one was really tough. I mean, it was so muddy. The ruts were really, really deep, and the lappers are crazy. They're all stuck. Like, I only passed probably 5 lappers that weren't stuck, and it was bad, but I just kept my head down. I never was in second, and, man, got that whole shot, led all the way to the finish. That's how I wanted to finish, and the mud was tough, but I fought through it, so looking around 6.
Did you guys have any extra pit stops today for clean goggles and that type of thing? Did you do anything out of the ordinary, or did you just put your head down and charge like you always do?
No, I just prepped my goggles right. I put the extended visor on my helmet, and with getting a good start, I didn't use as many tear-offs. So I put, I think, this 7 laminate, and I have a bunch left. So I only pulled a couple, and I knew I had to save my goggles because that 5-10 seconds of pitting, it will cost you some races. So I tried to play it smart, and I did a good job, it looks like.
Hey, no, a lot of times it's all about good decisions and good choices. And, man, you've been making them this season, that's for sure. So, hey, congratulations on the win today.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. We got the replay of just a few moments ago where it looks like maybe Thad Duvall might have relinquished that lead a little bit, Johnny. Jordan Ashburn is out front with Caleb Russell in second. Grant Baylor's now moved up into a number 3 spot, I believe it sounds like. Thad Duvall dropping back to a number 4 position. So we're seeing some big changes taking place right now, Johnny.
You know, and Rodney, I think that really is indicative of as the track changes, and now these guys are starting to get into lappers. So we've seen on screen so far they've had pretty open racetrack. Well, now as they're working their way around to complete lap 3, 49 minutes into racing action. And these guys are really starting to get into the thick of some lapped riders. They're starting to have to really be careful with their line choices, and we don't know exactly what happened with that. Obviously still hanging tough there in 4th, but you know, one would have to assume that it could have been something as small as just a little tip over or a missed line, or possibly something a little bit bigger. Maybe he connected with the lapper, but I think we're going to see this lead get kind of traded around several more times before this one's over.
I'm sure you're right, and one thing impressive is the fact that young Grant Baylor is actually moving a little quicker through the pack than what we generally see him. Normally we see him hanging out about that 4th, 5th, 6th place position till about midway 2-hour mark in the race, and then all of a sudden he turns it on. But today, man, it seems like he's racing with a little bit different fever at the beginning point of this race, which might pay off huge dividends for that young rider later in the race.
And we have an XC2 update. It looks like Trevor Bollinger in the lead, Nick Davis in 2nd, and Jason Thomas in 3rd. So
Caleb Russell, go ahead.
Caleb Russell with the lead now in XC1. So these guys, you know, they're shaking things up here early. It looked like Jordan Ashburn grabbed the lead for a bit, and now Caleb Russell has assumed the point position. So as these guys push here early, shake things up, we're going to have to assume that the pace is only going to get faster.
Oh, but certainly, and I think as the track develops more and more and the lines get a little more burned in there, we're going to see the same thing. The lap times right now, after 2, I mean, wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, yesterday we were looking at 30-minute plus lap times or so. Today, obviously, with the alterations to the course, we're seeing it shortened to just under the 20-minute mark right now, Johnny, 19:56. And here's something else to throw into this. At a 20-minute lap, in theory, we should be seeing 3 laps an hour. And times that times 3, then we could look at as many as 9 laps. And wow, now even though it's the same amount of time, same amount of mileage as any given 3-hour race, I think that the number of laps all of a sudden begins to play a little bit of a game with the minds of those racers out there. And some of those riders, you know, they think, wow, you know, here we are, lap 7. We're usually finishing on lap 7. Then when they see the 2-lap board come out, if that's the case, then you know they'd be looking at 9 laps and think, oh Lord, we got another 2 laps to go through this, and it could really, that could be a part of the game-changing process today too.
Well, certainly, Rodney. You know, as you see multiple sections of the track multiple times, you start to think, man, I've been here so many times before. I can tell you from personal experience that local races in different series where the tracks are shorter, you run, you know, 10, 12-minute lap times, it can feel like hours out there when you've only been out there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So with these guys putting in, you know, 20-minute lap times, as you said, shaping up to possibly be a 9-lap race, these guys are they're really gonna feel fatigue. Not to mention the shorter the track, the number of riders that are out there, the track's gonna get rough, and they're gonna be in lappers just consistently.
Yeah, that's very true. A lot of different variables here at this race, and again, with the rain showers and stuff from well, yesterday and Friday night, kind of warranting a lot of changes to the track, especially after the ATV race yesterday, which was a spectacular race. There's no doubt about. If you happen to catch that one, I mean, that was another one of those wild weekends where Chris Borch was finally able to get back up into his podium position ways. But we also had the opportunity to see some really cool stuff happening up front with some new riders up there.
Yeah, you know, it's,
there we go. Mile marker 7's where we are now as our leaders making their way in. Actually, I think that we may have seen some XC2 stuff come through there just a few moments ago, Johnny.
Yeah, and it looked like Jordan Ashburn was still out front. Either that lead had traded back or Caleb Russell relinquished the lead back to Jordan. So it's Jordan Ashburn leading, Caleb at Russell in second, Grant Baylor in third, and Thad Duvall in fourth when we last saw him. And now we're seeing some left riders check through here. And there is Chris Bach. We're not sure exactly what place he's in. We missed a few riders there. But now this is a 7-mile marker, Rodney. And just after this, the track works its way back down into the tight woods. You got some really just swampy, wet sections down in there. You know, Rodney, this is one of the worst, I guess if you will, soggy sections of the track. It works its way downhill, and the ruts are peg deep on a downhill.
Yeah, that gets pretty challenging, no doubt. You can see even these guys, I don't think, we say it all the time, the camera angles don't necessarily give this stuff justice, but I know coming in here on Friday, Johnny, the pits on top of the hill, knowing the soggy soft spots, they were actually pulling rigs into place on Friday just to get them ready for the racing on Saturday. So whenever you have to pull somebody in, and there hadn't been any rain for a few days, you know,
I was just going to say that, Rodney. When we pulled in here Friday, there hadn't been a drop of rain, and it was soggy at that point. So now that we've had all this rain, you know things are only getting worse. And actually, judging by the riders we're seeing on screen, I don't think we actually have seen our XC2 riders just yet. We should be seeing that lead battle for the XC2 class coming by. And as we know that to be Trevor Bollinger, Nick Davis, and Jason Thomas were the top 3 last time we saw them there. So we'll wait just a few moments here. They should be working their way into camera shot. And, you know, as you said, I mean, it's just phenomenal how soggy things were here before the rain. And now that the rain's come, it's just, it really made a mess. But these guys are doing a great job.
They are. And another thing to point out, if you look at the calendar, Johnny, the last few times that we've been here, well, since we've been here, coming here in 2012, we actually have been a couple weeks later in the spring than what we are this year. There's the XC2 guys we've been watching for, Johnny.
Yep, there's Trevor Bollinger, Nick Davis hot on his heels, and there was Jason Thomas in third. That seems to be Craig DeLong in fourth. I saw his dad, Mark, give him a pit board there. And there's Daniel Milner, one of our XC1 riders, working his way by. So there's your top 4 in XC2. A little bit of a shake-up with Thomas working his way around DeLong for that third-place position. But other than that, the top 4 remain the same.
The leaders are due in about 2 minutes. The one good thing about it from us, from a spectator point, getting to watch all these laps and so forth, is the fact that we get to see them a lot more in a lot of different places. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. For the fans, it's great. For the riders, it could be a little bit of an issue as we're watching riders check in at the 8-mile marker. Man, look, they're still nose to tail right now practically.
Yep. And there is your leader, Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell, Grant Baylor, 1, 2, 3.
Now, was that a lapped rider in amongst them? Because it almost looked like that maybe Russell might have been back on the 3rd place position on that.
That was a lapped rider in front of Ashburn.
Okay. Well, that right there helps tell the story a little bit more, and that goes to prove your point, Johnny. I mean, these guys are going to be picking them up everywhere.
Yeah, you know, and as we said, so early in the race for them to be so thick into lappers, you know, it shows it is a shorter course, and because they've made so many changes to the track, they've taken a lot of the gnarlier, more technical stuff out, and it's a lot of slick but faster open sections.
Our leaders due in about a minute for lap number 3 complete if they stay on pace with that just under 20-minute mark. 19:56 for Thad Duvall last time around. Russell turned to 19:55. They were practically 1 second apart. And 19:59 for Jordan Ashburn last time around. 19:56 for Ryan Sipes. One rider that we haven't mentioned a lot since probably the pro pits in this lap, Johnny, has been Ryan Sipes. You got to wonder, is he still close in tow with that group of riders, or maybe he might have got mixed up in the shuffle there?
Yeah, you know, we're going to have to wait and see as these guys check in. As you mentioned, this is at the 8-mile marker. The finish line is at the 10. So any moment now we should see them working their way towards that finish line chicane. And we'll have to wait and see. We did not see on screen Thad Duvall, and we did not see Ryan Sipes. Now, we did see a whole bunch of bikes in there. We couldn't make them all out. So it's very possible that those guys were still in that lead battle.
Very possible. So right now, according to timing and scoring, what I'm looking at my computer, we're at about 20 seconds, 15 seconds before these leaders should be coming through the finish line itself physically. But if the pace has slowed down, and it would be logical for it to slow down, lap traffic, track conditions and stuff changing as we have mentioned. So if we do see a 20 minute plus or 21-minute lap, it's something that is kind of par for the course if all the elements and all the everything is taken into account.
And here he is, Jordan Ashburn, your leader. Caleb Russell, hot on his heels in second. Looks like they put a little bit of ground on Grant Baylor, but nothing really too noticeable at this point. So, and as we check in, they're just 25 seconds late. So, obviously with the lappers, with the track probably getting rougher, the rut's getting deeper, we may see these lap times continue to increase just a little bit.
20 minutes, 35 seconds for that lap time around for Jordan Ashburn. About a 40-second lap time increase on that lap. So we are just over the 20-minute mark. 20 minutes, 39 seconds for Caleb Russell. And that's Ryan Sipes in the number 3 spot, it looks like, Johnny. He's 4.5 seconds back of those guys. Thad Duvall is back in the number 4 spot. And then it's Grant Baylor rounding out the top 5. 6th place, Josh Strang. Andrew DeLong is, well, we're waiting on DeLong, I think, to check in the number 6 spot. We'll do an update there. And still, our top 6 in, again, Ashburn, Russell, Sipes, Duvall, Baylor, and Strang. Again, man, a lot of jockeying going on right there. There they go by the pro pits right in front of the Race Day studios now. And still lap traffic everywhere, and they're having to not only look for good lines, but also make sure that there's not going to be somebody there waiting for them to go by in that line.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've seen so far today, and I think we're going to continue to see is it really is a game of track position. You almost don't want to be in the lead. There we see Josh Strang. It appears he may have made a stop in the VP Fuels Pro Row because these guys were all nose to tail, and now Strang has dropped off just a little bit as they work their way through. We are waiting. We are waiting on Chris Bach and Andrew DeLong. They have not made their way.
Bach has made his way through the finish line now. He checked in 48 seconds behind 6th place rider Josh Strang. So in theory, we may be seeing him come out about right now.
And there he is.
Wow.
And there is Andrew DeLong right on his rear wheel.
Yes.
So that is 7th and 8th place now having checked in. Looks like possibly DeLong's transponder not working, but nonetheless, he is on Chris Bach's rear wheel.
So with that, again, a very interesting race starting to shape up as we're just 1 hour now, 1 hour and 1 minute into this race. First and second, 1.5 seconds separating those two. Ryan Sipes, 4.5 seconds back to third, 1.2 seconds back to Thad Duvall, then to Grant Baylor, another 2.5 seconds. Another 2.2 seconds back to Strang at the finish line. We saw that it looked like he may have pitted, so that's been opened up now about 15 or 20 seconds. Andrew DeLong was another 22 seconds back of, looks like Chris Bach with Stu Baylor in 9th. And actually, Stu hasn't checked in yet either, so we got a few riders now. It looks like they may be coming in now, Johnny.
Here comes our battle for the XC2 lead. Looks like Trevor Bollinger leading the way. He's just got one more corner to go before he puts the final touches on lap 3, and there he is. Nick Davis in second, Jason Thomas in third, and those guys are wheel to wheel. 1 hour and 2 minutes of racing in, and these guys are still going at it.
21-minute lap times for Bollinger, actually a 21.8, a 21.01 for Nick Davis, a 20.59 for Jason Thomas back in the number 3 spot.
Yeah, it looks like Thomas had just a little bit quicker lap time that time. When we had last seen him, he was in 4th. He has now worked his way around Craig DeLong into that number 3 spot. DeLong still hanging tough there. If we do a quick refresh, looks like his transponder's not working either. I did see him check in there on screen, and here they come through the VP Fuels Pro Row. Looks like Thomas may have pitted because we see he has dropped from the lead duo here.
Pitting strategies oftentimes can weigh heavy toward the end of the race right now, as a little bit of a gap may be starting to open up. Will be interesting to see what happens throughout the progression of this lap.
And there is Jason Thomas, so he definitely possibly pitted, but it looks like Craig DeLong has a water bottle hanging from his mouth, so he pitted as well, but it's right on Jason Thomas's rear wheel. So we don't know if Thomas had a little bit of a lengthy pit stop or possibly a tip over between the finish line and the pro pits.
Well, as we take a look at the overall right now, our XC2 Pro Lights class has actually up to the number 8 position in Bollinger. Your leader in the XC2 Pro Lights, Davis, is 9th overall, and checking in 10th overall was Jason Thomas.
Yes, and here we see Daniel Milner in the NFAB and Pro Yamaha pits. Looks like he's had a little bit of a lengthy pit stop. They're giving him some new goggles. They gave him a splash of fuel, and he's working with something there. We do know he is diabetic, so we're wondering if possibly his sugar is low. Looks like he's going to have a seat and get assessed there. He's taking that helmet off, so I think it's going to be a little bit of a long pit stop for Milner. We'll check in with him, make sure he's okay.
Man, yeah, that's something you hate to hear, and you know that that's a tough disease to battle, especially whenever you're in a physical sport such as motorcycle racing. And obviously, they're still trying to find the right combination for him. I know we talked about it last time, Johnny, about how they've been working with different forms of diet and things like that to try to help maintain and stabilize his sugar, but obviously something not working out right, or it looked like that anyway whenever he stepped off the bike. That's the kind of indications that I was picking up on also. So right now, again, Ashburn, Russell, Sipes, 1, 2, and 3 at the finish. Duvall was 4th. Grant Baylor in the number 5 spot. Josh Strang was 6th. Chris Bach checked in 7th place. He was 48 seconds behind that lead pack that were all within about 8 seconds first to 6th. Trevor Bollinger is 8th overall. Then we got Nick Davis and Jason Thomas rounding out the top 10 overall. As we look at the XC2 Pro Lights class, Bollinger, Davis, Thomas, then Tegan Temple back in the number 4 spot. He's running 1 minute and 17 seconds off pace. Lane Michael, the number 6 team machine, whom we've seen in podium position and actually landing on the podium a couple different times so far this year. Back to the number 5 spot. He's 7 seconds behind Temple, but that puts him 1 minute and 20-some seconds now behind that lead pack of the top 3, and the possibility of a overall podium finish in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So looks like some folks may have their work cut out for him in these next 2 hours, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, we've seen Lane Michael's been incredibly consistent so far this year. He's been on the podium in several rounds and very near the podium in several others. And actually his consistency has rewarded him with the 2nd place position in the points, only a few points behind our points leader, Jason Thomas.
It really helps out a lot, and I'll tell you, a former points leader and one that a lot of folks are looking at to be a tough one to beat in this class. Ricky Russell is actually running back in the number 6 spot. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think he won the XC2 Pro Lights class last time. So he starts out in 6th, after 3 laps in 6th place. Corey Buttrick running 7th in the class. Scotty Grills is 8th. Austin Lee in 9th. And Ryder Lafferty, the young man, I believe, is the nephew of Mike Lafferty, former GNCC and Enduro top rider. Good to have him out here, rider, with us. And we got Eddie Ray, and I think he's standing by with Matt Watson. What's going on?
And thanks for that update, Matt Megawatt Watson. And, you know, it's unfortunate for Milner. Obviously, as Rodney had mentioned, that is a tough disease to battle. But, you know, he's out there. He's doing his best, and they'll give it a shot again next round. It's just one of those things where GNCC racing really tests you not only physically but mentally. And for him to be able to do that with the, you know, the hurdles that he has to overcome really shows, you know, he's traveled here from abroad, putting his best foot forward, doing all that he can, and, you know, we'll expect to see him back battling for a top spot as we've seen him so many times earlier this season, but not today. It looks like he's going to rest up, get healthy, and we'll wish him the best at round 6 in New York here in just 2 weeks. So as we check in with our top 5 in XT2, Trevor Bollinger, Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, Tegan Temple, Lane Michael, as we had mentioned. We've got only just over 3 seconds separating the top 3 in XT1. And then as we check in with the top 5 in XT2, after 3 laps complete, or I'm sorry, XT1, we've got Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell, Ryan Sipes, Thad Duvall, and Grant Baylor. And again, these times, the splits that we're seeing with only 1.6 seconds between second and third, or first and second, and then 4.5 seconds between second and third. These guys are basically out there running nose to tail, and to see how hard they're pushing each other early, we can only assume that they're expending quite a bit of energy. And as this race progresses, and let's see, we've got, oh, that's actually a lap driver we're seeing on screen, and there is Thad Duvall working his way through at the 5-mile marker. Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell. So it appears that Thad Duvall has now retaken the lead after leading early, running into some issues, dropping back as far as 4th or 5th, and now he's leading. They're going to make this left-hander up this slick, rocky uphill, and Thad Duvall leading the way, and Jordan Ashburn in 2nd, Caleb Russell in 3rd, and Ryan Sipes, it appears, in the 4th place position. So Thad Duvall made some passes here within the last couple miles, worked his way up through, and now we see Josh Strang at the 5-mile marker. He should be our 5th place rider as they work their way through the screenshot, and we're waiting. Did we see Grant Baylor? I don't believe we saw him on screen there. So again, a shakeup. These guys are just, oh, we've got a down lap rider, and we should have some more of our XC1 guys coming through here. And you can see how deep these ruts are, Rodney. He's got his swing arm completely buried in the ruts there.
Yeah, that goes to show you just exactly how soft things are and how much horsepower these guys are putting to the ground just to try to make it around this track. And you know that it is making for a very challenging racetrack, not only for the lappers, but even for our pro riders right now, because not only do they have the track to try to manipulate, now they got to try to get around those guys that are laying in the track in their way.
Yeah, and we've got, there's our 7th and 8th place riders. That was Chris Bach, and there we see Andrew DeLong on screen. You know, DeLong returning, this is his 2nd race back after that collarbone injury he suffered in Florida. He's got another National Enduro under his belt last weekend, so he's getting stronger each weekend, and now we see him battling well up inside the top 10.
That's a good sign to see him making those strides like that. I know that, you know, coming into this season, he had his heart set on obviously trying to be a top contender in GNCC as well as the National Enduro, and unfortunately the early injuries in the season has shifted his mindset to be focused more on the National Enduros, but something tells me that just because he might be focusing on winning that championship, he's not lost any focus whatsoever in GNCC, I don't believe.
No, you know, Andrew, obviously, with that #1 plate in the National Enduros, that's what his main focus is, per se. And one guy that's focused is Thad Duvall. So now we see Thad Duvall in the lead. Caleb Russell has worked his way around Ashburn and into 2nd. Here we are at the 7-mile marker. Ashburn's still right there in 3rd. And I'm sorry, that is Grant Baylor in 4th. And there is Ryan Sipes in 5th. So your top 5 all on the same screen at the same time. And Josh Strang in 6th, just a few seconds behind. So again, these top 6 still running real close here as they complete, or nearly complete, lap 4 of racing.
Man, I tell you, it almost seems like I look back pre-U-Haul days when we used to watch these particular types of races where it was nose to tail. I can remember in years past where we had a lot of these freight train races like we're watching right now, with a lot of position jockeying going on in the early part of the race. This is kind of a breath of fresh air as far as this battle is concerned, and not taking anything away from the greatness that Caleb Russell's been able to achieve. But wow, this is a lot of fun to watch today.
And here's our XC2 battle for the lead, and that is Trevor Bollinger leading the way. Nick Davis, we saw him shoving a wheel in on him there twice in just about 15 feet. So he's saying, come on, we got to go. Oh, there he goes, and there's the pass for the lead. So Nick Davis takes away the lead in XC2 at the 5-mile marker. And, you know, Rodney, you were mentioning the shuffling back and forth, the strategy that comes into play. One thing that also definitely comes into play with these guys is pit strategy.
Yeah, pitting strategy does play a big key role. Mentioning that a few moments ago, we went to a report with Megawatt. Had some mic issues, but Matt, I know you spoke with Eddie Ray a few moments ago. What's going on down there?
Hey guys, just had a chance to check in with Eddie Ray, Daniel Milner's mechanic. We noticed the bike come off the track and actually pushed it around to the side and put it on the stand. Not a problem with the bike at all. Daniel has a little bit of sugar going on, and he's not feeling so great today, so always safety first. They don't take any chances with that condition, so not a mechanical, just a little problem with the sugar levels today, and Daniel's going to see us at the next round and go ahead and sit this one out the rest of the day.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. Appreciate that update. That's something that really comes in handy to get that kind of information, and also it's good to know that safety is of the utmost importance, because oftentimes you'll have guys, you know, team managers will push their riders past their limits sometimes, and sometimes, and I'm not saying in this particular realm necessarily, but you know, oftentimes they expect too much out of riders and can push them into bad situations. It's good to see they're not doing that there.
No, you know, definitely safety first, and you know, we'll definitely wish Daniel Milner the best at the next round in New York. And boy, these guys are really hard on it. Looks like we've got a little bit of separation now between the top four. It is still Thad Duvall leading the way. That was Grant Baylor there working his way through. We believe still in the 4th place position. And there is Josh Strang in 5th.
Wow, still very close though. And as we can tell, and as we probably know, with the lap traffic that we've been mentioning, that right there might actually tighten right back up to a nose-to-tail battle once more. I mean, that's as quickly as they separate, they can tighten back up, especially in these conditions that we've got going on today. We're about 9 minutes out from lap 4 complete. Again, running in the neighborhood of 20-minute lap times, actually 5.5 minutes for the XC1 Pro class. They're running just now over the 20-minute mark at about 20 minutes and 35 seconds for your leader, Jordan Ashburn. But still, again, reiterating the fact that these are some fast laps. And I think some of the faster laps that we've seen in recent years were 22 and 23-minute laps sometimes. When they get down that low, it gets pretty interesting to see those laps click away. But now with a couple even extra minutes, man, this race is going to be wild to see where it pans out, whether it's going to be an 8 or 9 or 7 or a 10-lap race. I mean, I'm sure it's somewhere in the 8-9 range if my calculations are correct right now. But that's, again, a long race and pretty interesting. An hour and 15 minutes into this one, still around an hour and 45 minutes to go now.
You know, we talk so much about pit strategy and with the number of laps, and we were talking about that a little bit before we checked in with Matt Watson just a moment ago. We did see Josh Strang make a pit at the end of lap 3, and none of the other riders so far seem to pit that lap, so he may have a little bit of an advantage there. I think these guys are all going to have to come in and get a splash of fuel, possibly some fresh goggles, maybe a drink of water, and get themselves back out there and rolling. But Josh Strang just being a few seconds out of that top 5 there in that battle, we might see him get back up in there and possibly in a podium position or even further ahead.
Hey, you never know. Josh Strang, the freight train, he's going to be rolling full steam ahead, I'm sure, until the checkers drop on this one. As an hour and 16 minutes into this, we're going to take a look here at the top 20 overall. Something that we normally do is look at our top amateurs. Right now, top 20 overall do not yield any non-XC1 or XC2 Pro Lights riders. Wow, it's all the way till 29th place right now, as we have the Open A class leader there. That is Zach Hayes out of Sumter, South Carolina. He right now would be considered your top amateur at the early part of this race. Cole Kirkhoff, only a few seconds behind on a lap's time, is running in the 31st place overall position. He's got Vance Francis 1.4 seconds behind him. So that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that today as our leaders back on the screen right here, Johnny.
Yeah, and these guys are still appears to still be the same order. Looks like, again, they have pulled up that gap a little bit on Grant Baylor, who we did see just go by. And there is Ryan Sipes, I believe. Yeah, that is Sipes. So he would be your 5th place rider. And then we look back to see if we find Josh Strang.
Having a little bit of technical difficulties for those of you watching along home at racertv.com. So we apologize for that. The rain always seems to throw some sort of a
little bit of a kink in the plans.
Kink. That's the word that I was looking for. It's a lot more polite than what I was thinking.
But one thing that there is no kink in is Thad Duvall leading the way. We saw him grab the lead early, set the pace, and then these guys were kind of reeling him in. They were right on his rear wheel. He dropped back to 4th, and we thought, man, that was fun to see Thad Duvall lead for a while. Well, he must have heard us because he said, hey, I want you guys to have fun. I want to get back to that point position. I want to set the pace today. So as these guys work on completing lap number 4, we're going to possibly see some pit stops here, Rodney.
Yep, I think you're right. And another interesting note about Thad Duvall is the fact that he had those doing so well at Big Buck last race, had that issue, and nearly left the race a little early, but under the advisement of Fred Andrews and the team down there at Rocky Mountain ATVMC, the KR4 team, I guess you could say, the Arrive and Ride program, he was able to go ahead and stay in the race with that encouragement and actually score a couple of points. And, you know, talking with Thad, that right there I think was a very positive thing for him, because he said, you know, there's times or in the past, any time before, I would have just given up and threw it away for the day, and, you know, my mind wouldn't even be right today heading into this round. But he salvaged what he could out of that one. And, you know, he took that as a positive note, and I'm taking that as a positive note that he is continuing to mature, and as he continues to mature, he's going to become a lot more of a threat, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. And Caleb Russell with the lead. So we're talking about that. He's still right there on the rear wheel of Caleb. You know, this is the new and improved, mature, determined. You know, he's worked out some kinks, small kinks in his program he's had over the last few years, and now we're seeing him more consistent week in and week out, Thad Duvall. And one thing that's consistent week in and week out is Caleb Russell, man.
Yeah.
Back to the lead. There we see, that is Grant Baylor, I believe, in 3rd.
2.8 seconds behind at the finish line, according to timing and scoring. Russell, Duvall, and Baylor 1, 2, and 3.
And now, I think these guys are now working their way into the VP Fuels Pro Row, so I'm going to lean out the trailer here and see just who does what.
There comes, I think, Russell down pro pitch. You can see the KTM team readying themselves.
And Caleb Russell is stopping in. He removed his goggles there. He's going to grab a fresh set of Scott goggles off his IMS dump can. They're going to put some fuel in. You can see his wife Chandler with the drink there.
You know, not a big sense of urgency there, but certainly not one of the more relaxed pit stops that we're used to seeing from Caleb Russell.
No, you know, not when things are this tight. Josh Strang actually makes the pass on Jordan Ashburn exiting the VP Fuels Pro Row. Boy, that was an aggressive move. He just ran it right in on the outside, took the rut away, and took the position away.
Well, it looks like he got around Ryan Sipes as well, if that be the case, because according to timing and scoring, it was Russell Duvall, Baylor, Ashburn. Sipes was in 5th. Strang was in 6th. Bach, we're still waiting on him to check in and looking for him in the number 7 spot. Bach was some 48 seconds behind.
There he is, right on screen. Just checked in.
As he checks in this time, 1 minute and 3 seconds. So losing a little bit of time there, Chris Bach, but still holding a steady and solid top 10 position here as we approach the halfway point, an hour and 21 minutes now into this race. Well, as we've seen, we have watched our lead riders check in for 4 laps. We have watched this continue to unfold, and now the stage is reset as Caleb Russell has gained the lead as we head into lap number 5. It's Russell Duvall, Baylor 1, 2, and 3, and we'll be back with more GNCC Live after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
May 2nd, 2015, Monster Energy Supercross tears through Las Vegas.
This is going to be a good one.
As the world's fastest riders hit the track for a Sin City showdown.
Las Vegas, the season finale. They're going to go bar to bar. What's going to happen?
That's what I'm talking about. The finale of the Monster Energy Supercross season. Saturday, May 2nd, Sam Boyd Stadium.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Watching some video from Friday's school visit where many of the riders and our GNCC pastor, Chuck LeMaster, went out and introduced a lot of the school-age children to the sport of GNCC racing as well. A lot of other cool things. Johnny, you're always a big part of that.
Yeah, I actually attended that school visit. We did a elementary school in Bedford, Indiana, nearby here, and it's more than about GNCC racing. It's sending the message of teamwork, goal setting, and a very important anti-bullying campaign that GNCC takes to the local schools and tries to make an impression on some youngsters, and it seems to work very well. They respond positively to it. You know, it's great of the riders, it's great of Racer Productions and GNCC to put it together, and Chuck LeMaster doing a phenomenal job in his first step in that new role, and adapted to it very well.
I'll tell you what, man, Chuck has certainly found a home here in the GNCC Racing Nation in many different facets. We know him as our pastor from Team Faith, but, you know, he really, like you say, I mean, he stepped up on so many different levels with helping out and announcing, helping out, and going out to those school visits and everything. It's just great to have an addition like Chuck, yourself even, involved. And Chuck's out here racing right now. We got a big battle shaping up right here, it looks like.
Yeah, that's Caleb Russell, our leader, and we're having a hard time seeing on screen here, but we've got 2 riders behind him. I believe that is, in fact, Grant Baylor in second now. Yes, that is. That's Grant Baylor in second, and Thad Duvall in third. So these guys are 1, 2, 3, nose to tail.
Wow. Talk about game changers. I know I know that Caleb is fast and that we've still got a long road to hoe in this one. But right now, at this juncture in the race, Johnny, I don't know that you could have probably 2 of the most eligible riders to, I think, pick up on what's going on with Caleb Russell, especially with young Grant Baylor. I know he wants to get out there and ride and see what it is that he's got to do. And once he does, we know that young man's fortitude and what he's able to accomplish.
And speaking of Baylors, we've got Stu Baylor standing in the pits. It looks like...
Wow. The older brother Baylor, tough break. He has got his helmet off and everything, it appears, right?
Yeah, we don't know if we've got bike problems or possibly for one reason or another he's decided to call a day. So we'll have to get an update from him here when we can. But as of right now, it looks like he's done for the day.
Well, he's watching down Pro Row like he may be looking for something. Obviously, we'll, like I say, get Matt Watson over there here in just a moment and get an update on that. But that's a tough break, man, to see Stu out of this one because, you know, he's still trying to continue to build back from that injury that he sustained. Believe it or not, we were talking this morning. His whole debacle all began right here in 2012 when he first broke that collarbone, if memory serves me correct. I think that's when he first broke, but that's where it all kind of started going downhill for him and where all the troubles began. And it's hard to believe that here we are some 3 years later and he's still struggling from the likes of that injury as well as everything that compounded on top of that. And I know that he was hoping for a little bit of redemption from this place today, hoping to get things set back in the right pace and right place.
Yeah, and here we see Scott Grills on screen. Looks like possibly his front brake caliper hanging off there. Is that part of his brake line? It appears to be. So the MCS team going to work there. They're going to get him fixed up and try and get him back out on track. We've seen the majority of our XC2 riders check through. We'll see what our updates were there. We had Jason Thomas in the lead, Trevor Bollinger in second, Tegan Temple working his way up into the number 3 spot, Ricky Russell in 4th, Austin Lee 5th, and Scott Grills was our 6th place rider. Now there were some shakeups because as they worked their way through, it was in fact Scott Grills was ahead of Corey Buttrick, and now we see Corey Buttrick has long gone, and Grills is still in getting some adjustments to his MCS Yamaha.
Hey, it looks like Megawatt Matt Watson standing by down with Stu Baylor. We're going to get an idea of what's going on there. Tough break. What's going on, Megawatt?
Hey, thanks, guys. We're standing with Stu Baylor down here. Stu, it's an unlikely position for you to be in here in the middle of the race. The bike laying on the side down on the stand. What's going on, man?
Man, you know, it's been a rough year, and it seems like this just putting the icing on it. Really struggling with the whole year, and just one more thing hit the fan. So here we go, and was just riding, and I caught up to Bach and DeLong, and I was like, you know, I'm going to hook in with these guys, and I knew we were only like 30 seconds out of the lead group, and as soon as I got in vision of those guys, it felt like the clutch slipped, and then it was gone. Like it's, you know, usually when your clutch starts fading, there's quite a heads up, and you can make at least a couple more laps nursing it in. But this one, I don't know if I broke a clutch fiber or what really happened, but you know, it went quick, and there was no warning. So you know, I'm back out here cheering on Trevor, and you know, trying to figure out what's going on with XC2 race. I know he had a 30-second lead down in the bottoms, and now he's got a minute down, and he set a lapper, jumped him, tackled him off his bike, and started punching him in the head. So I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, it's a rough day.
Holy cow, Stu, sure sounds like it. So once again, we've got a little mechanical, taking our man Stu Baylor out of it. In good spirits down here, cheering the rest of the team on.
All right, thanks a lot for that update, Matt Watson. Sorry, Stu Baylor, but man, what an interesting twist to that. That can explain a lot. I mean, I've never heard of that anything like that ever happening, and if that's the case, wow, what's going on out there?
Yeah, you know, we've seen quite a shakeup in that XC2 class. We saw early it was Ryder Lafferty leading, and then we saw Thomas, Davis, and Bollinger kind of work their way to the front. Well, now it's Thomas and Bollinger 1-2. We see Nick Davis just continuing to drop down the standings. He's down as far as 12th as riders check in. We still not have seen him, but Trevor Bollinger, 1 minute and 4 seconds behind Jason Thomas. And Rodney, you and I were pointing at that deficit and saying, man, what happened here? And turns out he may have had a little bit of a run-in with the lapper, but not necessarily on the bike.
That's crazy. I cannot wait to hear the story from Trevor, what he has to say about that. I certainly hope that he sticks around on the podium. I'd love to hear that one on the podium later today. But, wow, what an interesting change of events. You don't well, I mean, I honestly got to say that's the first time I've ever heard that happen. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of lappers that's wanted to do that in the past, but to actually do it, that's pretty interesting to say the least. So 1 minute and 4 seconds between first and second, another 51 seconds back to Tegan Temple back in the number 3 spot, 38, call it 39 seconds back to Ricky Russell now in 4th. Austin Lee another 2.5 seconds back to round out the top 5. What about Austin Lee, man? I mean, we need to really sing his praises, because this is a young man that we watched grow up through the youth ranks. We saw him really, honestly, it seemed like take a little time to develop once he'd hit the big bikes, but it seems like now that he has found his groove and found his flow, so to speak, man, things are really starting to fall in place to him, and we've seen steady increases out of him and stronger rides each and every race, it seems like.
Yeah, you know, Austin's been steadily improving this year. You know, he's new to that Yamaha team. He's ridden KTMs or Huskies his whole life. You know, so for him to switch to a Japanese manufacturer, I was talking to him on Friday at the school visit, it's a big change for him. And we've got a big change out front. Whoa. Grant Baylor taking over the lead position. Caleb Russell in second, and we'll wait. That is Josh Strang now in third. And Thad Duvall in 4th. So there's your top 4. Wow. You got 2 battles going on. You've got the battle for 1-2 with Baylor taking the point position, Russell in 2nd. And then you've got Josh Strang in 3rd, Thad Duvall 4th, and here we see Ryan Sipes working his way through in 5th.
You know, I hate to say it. I know we're only an hour and a half into this one, but I think that we're maybe looking at the game changer that I anticipated coming into this one. And here's one thing that I knew, at least in the back of my mind, had been thinking, and I kind of alluded to it a few moments ago, but right now, with Grant Baylor being where he is, I got to tell you, this right here is the greatest place in the world for Grant to be. Number one, we mentioned that he can key off of Caleb and figure out what it is that he can do. Another thing is the fact that at this point on, generally, Johnny Gallagher, that Grant Baylor is normally the fastest and has proven to be the fastest rider on the racetrack in these closing laps. And if that story holds true today, man, we could have ourselves a really intense battle between Caleb Russell and Baylor right down to the checkers. Not only those guys, but I mean, not only those two, but I mean, even Thad Duvall, Jordan Ashford, and Ryan Sipes, all top 5 of these guys, man. I mean, with this battle this intense, I mean, who knows what's going to happen today? I mean, we still an hour and a half out. Caleb's got plenty of time to find his flow and find his pace and set sail, but right now it's looking like it's going to be tougher and tougher as time wanes on.
And as we watch on screen at the 5-mile marker, that's our leader, Jason Thomas, in the XC2 class. Now, we know from scoring last lap that it's going to be a good little bit that we're going to have to wait to see Trevor Bollinger. And provided that he didn't have any more run-ins with lappers, he should still be our second-place rider, as he had about a 50-second lead over Ricky Russell in third. But, yeah, as you said, Grant Baylor, known for his strength and his speed late in these events, and the fact that he's already in the lead an hour and a half in, you know, that's a departure from what we've seen so far in 2015, and, you know, he certainly could be shaking things up. And there actually is Craig DeLong, I believe, a new second-place rider in XC2.
Wow. That's interesting. A game changer there. There's the battle up front, looks like still. It's still Grant Baylor out front. Caleb Russell still in the number 2 position. And to say that Caleb looks satisfied and comfortable right now, I got to think that actually he is pushing it right now, just trying to make sure he does not let the young Baylor get away.
Yeah, you know, definitely it's been a while since we've seen Caleb really push even this far into a race. So far this season, he's been able to pull somewhat of a comfortable gap almost every round and kind of ride almost with his rear view mirror on.
Yeah.
You know, he's been just kind of managing that gap and getting pit boards from his KTM factory mechanics. And, you know, today it's not what's going on behind him that he's worried about. He's looking forward. He says, hey, this guy's in front of me and I got to track him down. There is Trevor Bollinger. So now I believe that would be 3rd place in XC2, provided that we did not miss anyone. So Trevor has dropped back from 2nd to 3rd. We did see Craig DeLong work his way through at the 5-mile marker. Now these guys will work their way towards the field at the 7, where we'll check in with them next.
Wow. I'm telling you, I'm just sitting here trying to take this all in. At the halfway point, we'll be taking a look at our Mid-State Chevy Midway report here in just a couple of moments to give you an idea how things are shaking down after 3-4 laps here with all of our classes. And actually, right now would be a good time to take a look at that, as we are now an hour and 35 minutes practically into this race. Real quick, a look at the overall shows Caleb Russell. Well, we'll go back to back to what's going on screen. Grant Baylor, Caleb Russell, then Jordan Ashburn, I believe it was, then Thad Duvall, Ryan Sipes still in the number 5 spot, Josh Strang in 6, Chris Bach 7. Looking at top 8 overall, 8th place overall is XC2 Pro Lights class leader Jason Thomas. Bollinger, 1 minute and 4 seconds down, was still holding on to 9th place overall on time adjustments, with Tegan Temple rounding out the top 10 overall with 51 seconds set gap between himself and 2nd. Now the XC1 Pro, as we know, all the way through the top 8 there, Chris 7 anyway. Chris Bach is 7th. And then in 8th place is Chris Douglas in class. Adam Anor is 9th, the number 25. And Andrew DeLong rounding out the top 10 after 4 laps complete there in the XC1 class. XC2 Pro Lights, looks like Jason Thomas, Trevor Bollinger, Tegan Temple, Ricky Russell, Austin Lee, your top 5. Scotty Grills, Corey Buttrick running 6 and 7. Lane Michael is 8th. He's riding the 16. Ryder Lafferty, the 336, is 9th, up 1 from a lap ago. And Jesse Grome rounds out your top 10. Now looking into some of our amateur classes now in our Mid-State Chevy Midway report, where they stack them deep and sell them cheap. We're looking at Zach Hayes, the number 30 out front out of Sumter, South Carolina. 1 minute and 35 second lead over the 428 of Levi Keller out of Bainbridge, Ohio. He has 1 minute and 10 seconds over the 235 of Dalton Cross from Gainesboro, Tennessee, who had only 2 seconds over North Liberty, Indiana's Alex Witkowski. Witkowski riding the number 579, and Witkowski has been known to be a GNCC contender in years past, and I believe this may be one of the first times I've seen him really vying up front, at least at this juncture in the race so far this year. Nathan Thornhill, the number 59, running in the number 5 spot, another rider to keep an eye on out of Peck's Mill, West Virginia. And as we look 6th through 10th, Grant Marriott, Dylan Rash are running 6th and 7th. Then in the 8th spot, Andrew Boggs. 9th place, the 380 of Dual Murphy, and rounding out the top 10, the 628 of Cody Jeffers. 258 class saw Vance Francis at the end of 4 with the lead in 15 seconds over 2nd place, 262, Cole Kirkhoff out of Vincent's, Indiana. By the way, Francis is out of Bonnyman, Kentucky. Indiana, again, the home of Kirkhoff. Then back in the number 3 spot, the number 50, Mason Atherton out of Clarion, Pennsylvania. 1 minute and 53 seconds off pace after 4 laps. Then the 4:12 of Mark Horesco rounds out the 4th place position with 4 laps, 21 seconds back. At the end of lap number 4 for 5th place now, the 981 of Jonathan Johnson, old JJ out of Landrum, South Carolina, checking in the number 4 position, 23 seconds off pace. Caleb Ward was running in the number 5 spot. Looks like he's dropped to at least 6th as we wait for the 258 to check in with their 4th laps complete, at least 6 through 10. It should be, or if last laps are any indication, Caleb Ward in 6th, Ryan Slopko in 7th aboard the 215, Vincent Smith in 8th aboard the 48, 9th place 294 of Jace Martin, and 10th place 958 of Alex Beroth. 200A class, 4 riders strong, but pretty intense riders that we have in this class. Christopher Vendetti, the 101 out of Fort Mill, South Carolina, enjoying the lead. At the end of 3, now I know I say it's intense, but for some reason this class is really spread out today. 6 minutes, 46 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Mac Jones out of Boomer, North Carolina is running the number 2 spot, 409. The number 75 is Zachary Ferentz out of Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania is 3rd, 6 minutes and 18 seconds back in that spot. Another 3:20 back was the 77 of John Hugel Jr. 4-stroke 8 lights class, Jonathan Lee out of Statesboro, Georgia, 1 minute and 3 second lead over the 862 of Jake Froman out of Linville, Indiana. Only 3 seconds off pace behind him, the 704 of Tristan Landrum. Landrum has been jockeying for lead since early in the race. Got a good jump off the line out of Nelsonville, Ohio, riding on that Sports Cycles machine. The 29 of Brady Myers out of Walker, West Virginia, was 1 minute and 29 seconds back in 4th place, with another 1 minute and 15 seconds back to Hartford, Tennessee's Hunter Shelton aboard the number 206. Looking at 6th place, 983, Andrew Francis out of Massillon, Ohio. 7th place, Braxton McGee, the 45 from Bolton, North Carolina. 526, David Machisco from New Salem, PA. Lamont, Pennsylvania is home to Tanner Wade, the 364. Rounding out the top 10, 421, Tyler Brandeth out of Terra Alta, West Virginia. Junior A, B, 25-plus class, Aaron Coxon out of New Cumberland, West Virginia. 54-second lead over the 2nd place ride, the 44, Joseph McCartney from Mount Clair, West Virginia. 3rd spot, 429, Adam Clark out of Norton, Ohio. 4th place, 718, Eric Breitmeyer out of Walker, West Virginia. And Darren Chapman, the 457 out of Williams, Indiana, rounds out the top 5. 54 seconds between 1st and 2nd of Coxon and McCarty. Then between McCarty and Clark, your 3rd place ride, 8 minutes and 24 seconds. Only 5 seconds back to 4th and another 40 seconds back to 5th. So some big gaps, and then a little bit of a tight race going on for 3rd place, it looks like. Back 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Ryan Ridge, the 705 at 6th. Jordan Overfield out of Morgantown, West Virginia, runs 7th. Zach Abram out of Bloomington, Indiana, just up the road a piece, is 8th. Brad Caraway, the 719 from Clarksville, Indiana, is 9th place position, Junior A 25-plus. Your 30-plus Vet A riders, Joe Marsh, the 35 from Pittsburgh, PA, leading the 387 and Nathan Alring. Less than a second between the two as they made their way through the finish line after 4. Alring out of Cincinnati, Ohio, then back to the number 3 spot, looking for Fairdale, Kentucky's Curtis Ryan, the number 98 and 3rd. The 277 of Jersey Arsenal out of Coventry, Connecticut in 4th. 74 Joe Kessler out of Canton, Massachusetts in 5th. It's 213 Nick Cordona out of Varaz, Florida. He runs 6'7", 446 Fabian Barada out of Holly Springs, North Carolina. 8th place, 310 is Eddie Lojack Jr. out of Tarentum, Pennsylvania. The I believe son of the great Eddie Lojack, one of our, I think, 9-time GNCC motorcycle champ. 9th place, the 86, Big Jim Steiner, the 44-year-old rider in this Vet A 30-plus class. Nearly grabbed the whole shot of Vet A New York earlier today. And 736 is Aaron Yoder out of Syracuse, Indiana, the Vet A class. Senior A class, Paul Petrin, 703 out of Calgary, Canada. 4-minute, 18-second lead over the 410 of Billy Schlag out of Mechanicsville, Maryland. 68 of John Leonard out of Lane Ridge, Tennessee. 6 minutes behind him in 3rd. In 4th place, the 427 of Carlo LeBlanc out of New Florence, PA. Only about a minute off pace. 5th place, the 47 of Shotgun Sean Remington. Another 2 minutes back. David Galliano, 975 out of West Virginia, runs in 6th. 700 of Tim Pritchett out of Chesterfield, Indiana, is 7th. 8th, the number 70, Harry Eaglehart out of Charlotte, North Carolina. 9th, Bob Bergman out of Romulus, Michigan. In 10th place, the 129, Brett Torchilla out of Sirico, Indiana. Looking next at our B classes, Dustin Stanley leading out of Clarksburg, West Virginia, the 8:51, a minute 33 seconds over Ryan McManus, the 5:19 from Nelsonville, Ohio. The 2:90 of Bill Zavendi from Cabot, Pennsylvania, a minute and 13 seconds back on the number 3 spot. 4th place, 6:25, Michael Hall out of Mayaca City, Florida, only 3 seconds off pace. In 5th place, the 6:32 of Eric Souders out of Bedford, Indiana, a minute and 35 seconds back now. By the way, Michael Hall closing up on Zavendi as he turned nearly a minute faster lap time, almost an identical, almost an exact minute actually. As we look to the 6th place now, 2:19 Tyler Rose, Bucktown, Ohio, 7th place, 2:29 Roman Phipps. We've got the 8th place Chris Bartone is the 5:75. 9th place 4:07 Andrew Wilson, rounding out the top 10 CJ Seitzinger. 250B class Cole Madison out of Inman, South Carolina, 5-minute 38-second lead over the 5:21 of Coke Beckert out of Zanesville, Ohio. 32 seconds over Brian Klementowski out of Boston, New York. He rides to number 353. In 4th place, 6:14 of Brewer Cawley from Lexington, South Carolina, only 22 seconds off pace with only 6.5 seconds back. To 5th place, the 4:01 of Devin Byer out of the Canal, Winchester, Ohio. Mark Miller, the 2:25 from Fairmont, West Virginia, runs 6'7". 4:13 Connor Keegan from Cold Center, PA. The 8th place, 4:04 Adam Anderson should say, out of Travelers Rest, South Carolina. 9th place, 3:55 Will Hart from Legionnaire, Pennsylvania. And the 4:58 Coleman Princeton from Aiken, South Carolina. 200B class Cameron Sisk out of Morganton, North Carolina. Morganton, North Carolina. That is home of the Steel Creek GNCC, the number 240, a 7-second lead over Bolton Barath, the 258 out of Flattown, North Carolina. And I believe Barath might have been the early leader in this one. I know he and Parker Jones and Sisk were all or Caleb Williams. Actually, Williams, I think, got the whole shot, the 540. He's in 4th place. So they were like 4 guys battling for that for that early lead. Parker Jones, the 411, runs in 3rd aboard the out of Boomer, North Carolina, I should say. Jefferson, PA is home to Caleb Williams, the 540, who got the early lead, running in 4th. 426 Colton Cup out of Morgantown, West Virginia. 6th place, 574 Kerry Steele from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Adam Parker, the 371, is 7th out of New Kensington, Pennsylvania, with Valdez, North Carolina's Noah Stevens rounding out 8th place aboard the 654. 4-stroke B Lights class Trey Jefferson out of Westminster, South Carolina, the 283 leading the 971 Zach Beverly from Evans, Georgia. Regis Calfo, the 87 out of West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, is 3rd. Alex Ankrum, the 764 out of Hampton, Ohio, is 4th. 517 Drew Bolton out of Mooresville, North Carolina, is 5th. Then Michael Tetlow, the 405 and 6th. Adam Hollenkamp, the 417, is 7th. Adam Lewis, 416 and 8th. Austin Smith, 944 and 9th. And 711 Austin Evans, 4-stroke B class, rounds out your top 10. The vet B30 plus class, Jeremy Dexter, the 880 out of Nelsonville, Ohio, 8-minute and 4-second lead over the 127 Larry Hopper out of Tarentum, Pennsylvania. 316, our pastor, I love this, Team Faith ride on the number 316, Chuck LeMaster out of Sale Creek, Tennessee, just made the move across the state there a few weeks ago. Sean Morris, 195 from Waynesburg, PA, is 4th. Scott Dallin, 919 from Waynesburg, PA, is 5th. Then Jason Wilson, 354 and 6th. Josh Nickel, the 884 in 7th. Toby Evans, the 388, is 8th. 9th place, 610, Alexander Monts de Osa out of Miami, Florida. I believe we've got one more class to look at. It is the senior B class. Scott Campbell, 130 out of Sissonville, West Virginia, leading the 218 of the Charles Ultimus out of New Florence, PA. 5 minutes, 17 seconds. 351, Doug Harris out of Danville, Indiana. 231 in 4th is Devin Ferguson from Knoxville, Tennessee. Marysville, Georgia, Michael Beckett, the 456 in 5th. 374, Mark Adkins out of Galloway, Ohio, is running in 6th. 422, Robert Cornish out of Pemberton, New Jersey, is 7th. 8th spot, 423, Jason Hall, Brownsburg, Indiana. 9th place, 689, John Rhodes out of Muncie, Indiana, senior B 40 plus class. And that, my friends, your Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. They stack them deep, they sell them cheap. They're the home of your next new car, truck, or van. Check them out in the heart of West Virginia there at the Flatwoods exit, or online at midstatechevy.com. And be sure and like their Facebook page and let them know whenever you go shopping or check them out on Facebook that you are part of the GNCC Racing Nation and you appreciate all that our good friends at Mid-State Chevrolet does for this great series. Right now, looking at our leaders, should be in about 12 and a half minutes according to timing and scoring. Grant Baylor checking in with the lead. Caleb Russell was 2nd. Thad Duvall was 3rd. Josh Strang in 4th. Ryan Sipes was rounding out the top 5. Jordan Ashburn was 6th. Chris Bach in 7th. Jason Thomas was your 8th overall XC2 Pro Lights leader. 2 minutes 41 seconds now back to Trevor Bollinger in the number 9 spot as we saw these riders check in for our 5th lap complete. And rounding out the top 10, the number 20 of Chris Douglas. So they've gone through the pro pits. I believe they've made their way as well, or getting ready to make their way through, some of them through the pro pits, as we see Stu Baylor dressed there now, and that he is helping encourage some of these riders as they make their way by. So Johnny, we checked in with the Mid-State Chevy report. We say goodbye to our Pivot Works folks here, part of the Hot Rod Cylinder Works, Hot Cams family of sponsorships here at the GNCC as they make their way out of the races today. But we see 5 laps down now. Grant Baylor out front, only 2 seconds ahead, but they're starting to pull ahead of Thad Duvall and Josh Strang. Well, Josh Strang is actually reeling these guys in. Duvall is now 16 seconds back. Strang turning a 20-minute even lap time. Grant Baylor a 19:59, Caleb Russell a 20:06, a 20:21 for Duvall. So he's slowing down a little bit, allowing Josh Strang to freight train ahead, man, and chug, chug, chug. He's within 2 seconds now of a podium spot here heading into the home stretch of this race, it looks like.
Yeah, you know, as things are shaping up here, it's really interesting to see. You know, we've talked about so many times the fact that Grant Baylor, oh, and there we see our leaders checking by on screen. It's Caleb Russell back into the lead. Grant Baylor now in second, so at the 5-mile marker, Caleb Russell, wow, look at that, feet off the pegs. He's really going for it here, Rodney. Oh, feet off the pegs again, almost off the bike, never lifting off the throttle, and now he makes that left-hander heading up towards that field section at the 5-mile marker. Grant Baylor is really turning up the pace and just trying to keep up with the rear wheel of Caleb Russell. And that may possibly have been Josh Strang that we just saw work our way by there. We're going to have to wait and see as we pan back here. That is a lapped rider there. We wait and we wait. Thad Duvall, Josh Strang, these are the 2 guys that we're waiting on. And there is Josh Strang now. So look at the gap that they've opened up after the 3rd place ride of Strang. These guys are really hard on the gas here. Hard to believe that we thought they were going as fast as they could possibly go. Caleb Russell grabs the lead, even turns it up that much more, and now he's really pushing the pace with Grant Baylor charging behind him.
Well, again, watching Caleb Russell at this juncture of the race in a position that he hasn't been in for quite some time. An hour and 49 minutes, closer to an hour and 50 minutes now. Just a little over an hour and 10 minutes or so before the 3-hour mark hits. So we're right in the range of about an hour before this race is over, man. And already, I mean, this has been so intense the entire time. You just got to hope that at this point it stays this way the rest of the race. It's going to be hard, though, man. These guys have really been pushing the envelope today, it looks like, Johnny.
Yeah, and let me go ahead and throw my 2 cents in on what I think is going to happen here over the course of the next lap. Grant Baylor has set a torrid pace. He's taken the lead. Caleb Russell is now taking it back. And this is where we're going to see Caleb Russell try and make a statement. And he's going to try and shake Grant Baylor, put a lead on these guys, and potentially, hopefully, get himself a cushion that he can ride to the finish line. But, you know, Rodney, you had the hype coming into this weekend. You said that some things were going to change. We were going to see a different kind of race. Some things were going to shake up. And you kept using the word game changer. Well, let me tell you what could potentially be a game changer. If Caleb Russell throws out all his speed, every trick in the book, everything he knows to try and shake Grant Baylor and can't do it, that is a game changer.
It most certainly is, and that's the kind of things we're talking about. There goes Russell through the 7-mile marker now, getting a drink, and not much on the pit board other than Tanner saying, go, man, you got to go. Grant is coming. You know where he's at. There's not a lot to tell him at this point.
Yeah, and we saw it looked like Grant Baylor got a drink as well. Now, I apologize. We did miss Thad Duvall, so there's Thad. There's your 3rd place ride, and he is not at all far back from those guys. We do have a little bit of a gap back to Strang. That is not Strang there. So there we see now Chris Bach working his way through at the 5-mile marker. Looks like he's going to make a pause and see where that lapper's going. Takes the most direct route through, wheelies over that big hole. But, man, look at how tight and gnarly this is. Now there's Strang checking in the 4th place spot. So there's the gap that we were looking at before. We were trying to figure out exactly where people were at. Just behind Strang in 5th is Ryan Sipes. So these guys, we've got, again, those 2 battles going on. Now what we did have is a 6-rider battle for lead. We've now got a 2-rider battle for the lead, at least at the moment, with Caleb Russell leading the way, Grant Baylor charging hard, trying to keep him in his sights, and then we've got that battle with Thad Duvall in third place. Josh Strang just behind him. As we see Andrew DeLong having some troubles in that same section we just saw Bach work through. Has a lapper in front of him. He has to momentarily pause, wait for that lapper to make it through the rut before he commits. But again, the second battle that we have out on the track is a battle for third, and that is right now between Thad Duvall, Josh Strang, and Ryan Sipes. All three of those guys just inches from each other, battling their way towards the completion of lap 6.
Well, we've talked about it. We've pointed it out in previous races. We've seen some great strides out of Brian Sipes there, Johnny, and I'll say this about him, and we mentioned that third hour. That's what we're getting ready to approach, but I have to tend to believe that with each passing race that he gets into that position, he gets a little bit better, he gets a little bit stronger, and in the weeks between, I think he's able to work toward that goal a little bit more. I think we may be really about to see something out of Brian Sipes this year that we haven't seen so far, and I think that he's going to stay a lot more solid through this heading into this third hour, a little longer than what he has in races past.
Well, not only that, I think Brian Sipes has had a realization in his own mind. I actually spent some time with him Friday at that school visit that we did in Bedford, talking to those kids, and one of the things that he brought up, here we go, Caleb Russell, and just a bit back. Do we have Grant Baylor there? It looks like Grant Baylor has dropped off just a tad. That's not Grant behind him. 2, 3, 4. Looks like about 4 seconds back to Grant Baylor. So Caleb opening things up just a little bit, and there is Thad Duvall. So now he's bridged the gap and is closed up on the back of Grant Baylor.
Now let me ask you this. How long has it been since you've seen Caleb Russell riding with a sense of urgency? Not that it's so over the top right now, but it's a little more urgent than we've seen him riding at this juncture of the race at any point so far this season, I think.
Well, let me tell you the last time I saw Caleb Russell ride with that sense of urgency here last year, when he had that crash early, was way back, charged from outside the top 20, I believe, at one point, all the way back to second place overall.
Wow. Man, you guys have got a memory like a steel trap, Johnny Gallagher. As we roll through lap number 6 now, nearly an hour and 55 minutes into this. Caleb Russell back out front of Grant Baylor. Thad Duvall running in the number 3 spot. Josh Strang in 4th. Ryan Sipes rounds out the top 5. GNCC Live continues after this.
Any engine, any season. At home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pulls per side. Durability in the toughest conditions. Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's rubber submount. Easy to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com.
Do you love racing? All kinds of racing? How about pro motocross, flat track, road race, ATV, GNCC, Supermoto, Enduro Cross? Well, we've got what you're looking for. Welcome to the Racer X Show with Greg White, presented by Chaparral Motorsports. New every Tuesday on RacerTV.com.
This Racer TV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. and powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from Springville, Indiana, and this Lawrence County Recreation Park for round 5 of the AMSOIL GNCC Series. The Limestone 100 GNCC. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher, Matt Watson out and about. And Johnny, I tell you, brother, we have been watching some crazy things. Probably one of the most interesting races that we've had so far in 2015 as far as the XC1 Pro Bikes race is concerned, and at the same time, we got a lot of crazy things going on back there in the XC2 Pro Lights class as well. We're talking game changers, talking about this is going to be a day that's going to shake things up. Man, we're seeing it all around, not just up front with the wild stuff going on with the battle up in the number 1 spot, but that XC2 Pro Lights class, I mean, we've seen a big change in that one, it looks like.
Yeah, it's been crazy, Rodney. We mentioned that we had Ryder Lafferty leading early after getting an XC2 Whole Shot Award, and then quickly thereafter, it seemed that we had, you know, the usual suspects. Trevor Bollinger, Jason Thomas, Nick Davis worked their way into the top 3 positions with Lane Michael, Ricky Russell, all those guys right toe there behind them. Well, now we've had a real shake-up. We see Nick Davis has finally completed lap 5, but in 18th position. And Craig DeLong right now showing in 20th position. So we've definitely had a couple of the early front riders that are dropped back. We don't know, there may possibly be an issue with DeLong's transponder. It wasn't working earlier, but as of right now, we are certain that Nick Davis has dropped back to 18th place, and that's a heartbreaker for him.
That is a very big heartbreaker. You know, he had such a phenomenal start to the season, and I know that he and Jason Thomas having their drama, I guess you could say, as far as that championship battle is concerned. I mean, it has certainly been an intense one. There's our leader back on the screen. We're nearing the finish line, looks like, Johnny.
Yeah, here as we complete the end of lap 6, Caleb Russell in the lead. Look who's hot on his heels.
Wow, the youngster, Grant Baylor. Man, making waves out here today. This kid right here, I mean, we saw it coming, and, you know, we watched him over the course of the last couple of years. And, you know, the hype was coming with him. Wow, who was that? Was that Thad? Oh, my. Let's look at lap times here as lap 6 now in the history books. We are 1 hour, 59 minutes into this race. 19 minutes, 46 seconds for your leader, Caleb Russell. 19 minutes, 52 seconds for Grant Baylor. 19 minutes, 36 seconds for Thad Duvall, the fastest lap we've seen turn so far today. At least since lap 1 anyway, and, of course, this late in the race. Amazing.
Yeah, there we see Caleb Russell grabbing a drink from his wife, Chandler. Looks like Grant Baylor there in the number 2 spot. We got some lappers moving out of the way, and look at that guy, man. Thad Duvall. Bad Thad is just twisting the throttle on that KR4 Husky.
Man, he is making it happen. They talk about just true heart and determination out there. When we start maybe counting him out a little bit, he really turns things around and man, opens our eyes back up, and I'm liking that. That's been kind of the Thad Duvall career. You know, you'll get all bright-eyed on Thad, and then you'll kind of lose interest. And now Strang into the pits in that number 4 position, it looks like, Johnny.
Yeah, and it seems like that pit strategy for Strang seemed like a good idea there for a minute, but now what's happened is he's lost touch with this lead group, and they've got enough of a gap on him that they're going to be able to pit next lap, and he's not going to close up on him. Yeah, so, you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, Strang, you know, has been super solid so far, rock solid, as a matter of fact, in 2015 with, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 second-place finishes. I believe every time we've gone to the finish line, it's been Josh Strang who's gotten there second, Caleb Russell who's gotten there first. So, you know, these guys are, oh, and there we see Ryan Sipes now in 5th place, so he's still hanging tough. We were talking about him a little bit earlier, and, you know, Rodney, we're now over 2 hours of racing in here, 2 hours and 1 minute to be exact, with less than an hour of racing left. You know, Ryan Sipes with a solid top 5 ride going.
Pretty good. Jordan Ashburn back at that number 6 spot. Hey, folks, don't forget we're still running our AMSOIL Twitter contest. You can tweet your podium finish predictions to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL product. We will be choosing the winner randomly, but we want to know, who do you think it's going to be? We'll put you all in there and pull one out. And I know we've gotten it right a few times as far as the overall. A few times it's been way off, but it's really neat to see how close and interesting it is to see how even the race fans are looking at things heading into these races, because oftentimes they're tweeting before the race even starts to see if they can maybe match that podium prediction.
Well, hey, you know, $250 in AMSOIL products, how can you go wrong? You
Yeah.
got to get involved. You got to get out there. You got to tweet your podium predictions to hashtag GNCC Live. Get them in there, and you might win.
There you go. We love winners, man. We love making you winners as well. As speaking of winners, still up in the air is who's going to be the winner here today. A lot of times at this juncture we're saying, well, we don't want to go out on a limb and say that he's going to be able to have it, but it looks like Caleb Russell is going to once again walk away. That right there is one thing that we have not said thus far today, and I am beginning to wonder if we are going to be able to say that.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, Rodney. I mean, it's
scary, isn't it? I mean, it's wild. You come in here thinking one thing, and I mean, even you made a mention. You looked at me at one point there and said, wow, this is a good race. And not that we haven't had good races in the past. It's just it's not been for the lead position. It's been for second, third, fourth, and a top five, basically. But today, it's for every position up there. I mean, it's still all that position jockeying is going on. But we are starting to see those front three start to stretch it out a little bit. But like you say, I'm in the mindset you are. We can't count Josh Strang out just yet.
No, definitely not. I mean, Strang still holding tough there in that number 4 spot. Sipes just behind him in 5th, so he's still got that pressure to keep pushing. You know, he is only 31 seconds behind Thad Duvall. That is not an insurmountable gap. You know, you can't count any of these guys out at this point.
No, and if those guys are turning the 19.5-minute laps, 19:45 laps or whatever, nothing to say that Josh can't either. And again, with the breaks that these lap riders have been giving some of these riders in position, you know, the face of the race can change almost instantly from mile to mile out there.
You know, and Rodney, this track is so dynamic. It has so many different facets to it. We've got some slick stuff. We've got rocks. We've got mud. We've got ruts. And then the fields are shaping up great. I mean, you can see in the open areas, we always joke about it, but by the end of the race, we're going to see some dust kicking up in a few places.
You know, I'm wondered this morning because I thought the same thing as I was walking through, but as this day has gone on, watching these pits tack up and watching this track tack up, I'm going to bet with you, I think, today on that one.
You know, Rodney, that looked like that was Grant Baylor checking by, so did we miss Caleb Russell in that shot? At the 4-mile marker, it appears Caleb Russell was still in the lead. There we see Big Stu Baylor, Grant's dad, giving him a pit board, letting him know what that gap is to Caleb. So Caleb's still out front. Grant in second, or did we miss? There's Thad Duvall. That answers that question. So now what we saw as such tight racing is now open back up.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's the track that's lending its hand to that or whether it's just that these guys maybe hitting that lap traffic, some able to get through it a little quicker than others depending on where they're at. But, you know, that could be probably a lot of what we're seeing today too, Johnny, because remember there are some tighter sections here, so that might be what's keeping this race from stretching out the way we have seen it do it in the past.
And there we see our 4th place rider, Josh Strang, as he works his way through our shot at the 4-mile marker. But absolutely, Rodney, with as many riders as we do have out there on this somewhat shorter version of this course, you know, Barry Hawk mentioning in the track description, started out as an 11-mile course and is now somewhere probably on the low side of 9. So they've had to definitely make some changes to this course to accommodate for the conditions. But, you know, it's the same for everybody. All these guys are having to pass the same lappers. And if anything, you would think it would be hindering Caleb Russell or whoever is leading the most, because those are the guys that are kind of sneaking up on them. And then once you do make those passes, the lappers know that the leaders are coming through.
Yeah, and they should know right now that they're coming through full steam ahead, especially this late in the race, heading into that 3rd hour. These guys generally recognizing the fact that those those guys do catch them at this juncture in the race, and may not have been looking for them earlier in the race, but certainly I believe can be looking for them now. So moving and advancing forward might be a little easier here later in the race.
You know, Rodney, as we look at the XC2 Pro lights, we see that, in fact, Craig DeLong's transponder was not working. He's actually in 2nd place position. Now, we have seen Jason Thomas check in with the completion of lap number 6. He is our only XC2 rider so far, so we'll be awaiting Craig DeLong, who is 1 minute and 20 seconds behind Jason Thomas at the completion of lap 5.
Thomas turned a 21:13 lap time that time around. The last time around on lap 5, it turned somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 120.3, it appears. Bollinger turning a 121.2. Bollinger holding a solid top 5 position right now.
Yeah, that was actually the time behind. They were a 21-minute, 13-second lap time for Jason Thomas. Craig DeLong, 21:30, and then 22:29 for Trevor Bollinger. So another rough lap for him. We had seen he had that run-in with the lapper, that he was tackled off his bike and had some physical altercations out there. But, you know, this lap, not likely that happened 2 laps in a row, so maybe just a little issue with some ruts or maybe just some regular issues with lappers.
Well, yeah, I mean, out of all your years, Johnny, have you ever heard of anything like that happening? I mean, I guess it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. As many amateur riders as there are, A and B riders as there are on the track, and I'm sure some of those pro riders might get a little aggressive on them sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some crazy stories. I can't say that I've ever heard of anybody being tackled off their bike. So, like you said, hopefully Bollinger stays in that podium position and
I want to hear it.
gives us the opportunity to hear all about it on the podium. But Caleb Russell now in the lead, working his way through at the 5-mile marker, around some lap traffic, takes a high line there. And, you know, now we're seeing Caleb really start to stretch this out. We'll have to see what the gap is here. We've got...
And he's riding a lot smoother now, not that sense of urgency that we were watching him ride with a few moments ago, but with a sense of urgency. Here comes second place. Looks to be about probably 15 seconds back now.
Yeah, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 seconds there, Rodney. We'll see when they check in at the completion of lap number 7. But as of right now, man, you know, we said it. It's going to take a game changer. And there's Thad Duvall now, so he's dropped about another 15 seconds behind Grant Baylor. So when we saw these guys at the finish line just 5 miles ago, they were basically nose to tail, and now we've got about a 15-second gap between each of them. So we've got probably about 30 seconds from Caleb Russell back to Thad Duvall.
Well, that's pretty remarkable, I think, still yet. They're wondering about what's going on. There goes Josh Straight making his way through this area of the racetrack. Looks like he's still trying to keep that head down and keep that pace up to try to catch that front pack.
Yeah, you know, these guys are charging hard, and we did just see real quick here before we wrap things up on this part, we've got Ricky Russell now taking over the number 2 ride in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Trevor Bollinger dropping back to 3rd. Now again, we do have to note that we know Craig DeLong's transponder has been having some issues, but the big thing, the point to mention here is Ricky Russell in 2nd place, 3 minutes and 36 seconds behind Jason Thomas.
I think that honestly he's probably in 3rd place, it would be my guess on that one, but regardless, we'll have the issue fixed here in just a few moments. There's Ryan Sipes making his way through. Well, Johnny, you know, as always here at the GNCC, a very amateur-based championship with the elite riders, we calling our XC1 and XC2 Pro Class riders and Pro Lights riders, but a big heart and what makes up any racing circuit, a motorcycle racing circuit, as we all well know in any racing circuit, is the amateur portion of it. And one of the great opportunities that we have as a part of our amateur racing is, of course, the WXC. And we saw another great battle out of this one, Johnny, and I know it was another hard-fought battle between 3 ladies once again.
Yeah, you know, there was quite a battle between Casey Martinez, who actually ultimately took the win, Becca Sheets in 2nd, and Sarah Baldwin in 3rd. You know, they traded the point position back several times throughout the race. Heard that the lappers, the ruts, everything were just terrible out there, but, you know, they soldiered their way through and ultimately ended up on the podium, and I believe we caught up with Casey Martinez to see just how her day went today.
Welcome back, Racer TV fans. Here we are at the conclusion of our AM race, our 10 o'clock race here, with 3rd place overall. Casey, you're doing it again. Another week up on that overall podium. Now, conditions not exactly ideal out there today. Watching the monitor, everybody was all over the place, a lot of action out there. Tell us a little bit about how it went.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Once we got off that start and got into the woods, it was a slippery mess. It was kind of hard to get used to the first couple laps. I got the whole shot, but then I think I dropped back to 6, and then it was hard to know where you're at, too, because there's so many lines, and girls, you know, there's people all over the place. So one could, you know, find a good line and get past you, and you didn't even know it. And it was tough, but I'm happy to, you know, just ride it be safe and, you know, take my time, and I was able to get up front.
At any point, did you have to put the old adage, slow down to go faster, into use?
Definitely, yeah. I was pushing a little too hard off the start, and that's when I started making a few mistakes. So I just tried to, you know, go a little slower, calm down, and I was able to ride better.
Awesome. Here you are again on that overall podium. So congratulations on 3rd place overall here today at round 5.
Thanks.
Well, that's Megawatt there from this morning's race, and this is Megawatt now over in the pits. What's going on, Matt? Must be having a little bit of a mic issue or something.
Gotten what is going on with your riders up to today?
Well, we got Thad. You know, he's running up in the top 3 there, and we're really rooting for him today. To hopefully he can pull out a win here today. We got a lot of other riders. You know, we got Caleb Ward. He's running in top 3, 250A. We also have Connor Keegan and Coleman Brinson running top 10 in the 250B. They're battling it out. 2 teammates going at it. And you know, we've got a lot of other riders out there that they're all doing good.
Well, Frank, you have to be proud. It's just an unbelievable program you guys have down here, and what you guys have done in just a couple seasons is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Our program's growing every year, and we're excited about it. And you know, it just seems to be working for everybody. You know, the team itself, the team atmosphere, everybody loves it, and I think it just pushes the riders to do better.
Well, there you have it, straight from Frank Keegan, KR4 Racing. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot. So a lot of things going on down there for the KR4 guys, it looks like, and obviously they're got their fingers crossed. They're watching like everyone else is right now, Johnny, wondering what's going to happen with this battle up front. We just checked in with our leader, Caleb Russell, near the 7-mile marker moments ago.
Yeah, we actually just saw our top 3 come through at the 7-mile marker. It was still Caleb Russell with the lead, again about 10-12 seconds back to Grant Baylor, and then about another 15 seconds back to Thad Duvall. So what we had seen is a nose-to-tail battle at the completion of lap 6 has now stretched its way out. As we said, about 30 seconds between the top 3 here at the 7-mile marker, and now we see Josh Strang in the 4th place ride working his way through. Looks like he's going to make some passes on some lap riders and take that one step closer towards trying to run down that podium position.
Well, I tell you what, as far as game changers go, I don't know what it's going to be or if it's going to be as drastic as maybe what I was anticipating, but I think that maybe we did see the game-changing process start to get underway here today with what we saw with Grant Baylor pushing the envelope and riding with Caleb for as long as he has. What we've seen out of Thad Duvall, as much leading as he's been able to accomplish today. So, you know, right there, those could be 2 key factors for the rest of the season to throw in with, well, Josh Strang, who seems to be having struggles just to try to catch up to those guys and challenge for one of the top 3 positions.
Yeah, you know, and with still potentially 2 more laps of racing remaining, you know, we certainly can't count this one over yet. I mean, Grant Baylor, Thad Duvall, both these guys still very much within striking distance.
That's what we like about it, man. This has been one of the more exciting races. We're now about 2 hours and 15 minutes into this race in the neighborhood of, looks like probably 45 minutes before we'll see a checker. Again, I haven't gotten an official word on exactly how many laps are going to be racing, but we've hovered right around that 20-minute mark. We did drop into the 21s for a few moments, but just barely over the 21s, now back into the 19s. So I think we're averaging right at 20 minutes a lap, man. So it very easily could go to as many as the 9 laps that we were talking about. And I think here at the finish line this time around, we'll be able to tell a little bit more about that as to whether they, as they wrap up lap number 7, when they come check in here in about 3 minutes at the finish line, they should be, if they haven't already seen the 2-lap board, be seeing that. And I don't think they have seen it yet, so it looks like it's going to be coming out.
Yeah, I think we'll be looking at a 9-lap race here. I think we'll see the 2-lap board come out when they come through, judging on time. And here we see Big Stu Baylor giving Grant Baylor another pit board and a little bit of an encouragement as he tries to keep Caleb Russell in check as best he can at this point. We'll wait now, and Thad Duvall should be the next rider that we see checking in. And nope, not Thad there, but you know, it's hard to believe that after 2 hours and 15 minutes of racing, these guys are still so close, pushing so hard. You can't really emphasize enough as Thad does now work his way through our shot at the 8-mile marker. These guys basically at this point just run the bottom of this ridge, and then they're going to work their way slowly up the hill and then hit a fire road and very quickly work their way up the hill to the finish line.
Very nice facility here, 440-some acres of the Bait of Indiana's Lawrence County Recreation Park. It's a state-recognized facility as well. They've got a rider safety, I think, memorial over there. A lot of cool things about this little facility. They have music festivals here sometimes that incorporate with trail rides and things like that. Just a great and awesome place to be here with the Limestone 100 GNCC in the great state of Indiana for the first of 2 stops here in 2015, Johnny. And again, couldn't have written this one out any better so far. We have seen one of the more interesting races that 2015 has presented to us, at least in this XC1 Pro class today.
Yeah, and there we see Josh Strang working his way through in the number 4 spot. So these guys now, things are starting to string out a little bit. We've talked about how exciting this race has been so far and still continues to be, but now the cards are starting to fall. Things are starting to work their way out. We just have to wait and see how things, we've still got lappers, we've still got a very challenging track, and we've still got 43 minutes of racing remaining. So definitely could see a shake-up, but right now it seems that the podium positions as they sit right now are kind of starting to maybe fall into place. And falling into place with just a couple turns to go here to complete what we believe will be the 2-lap card. At the completion of lap number 7, Caleb Russell, he takes a look back over his shoulder to see just where Grant Baylor is at. He's not going to see Grant just yet because he's pulled out about a 15-second lead.
And you can see Caleb putting the hammer down, and there is the 2-lap board out, so 2 laps to go. We'll be seeing Caleb through the pro pits here in just a few moments. And it took a little while, Johnny. It took a little while, but Caleb was finally able to start putting some gap on himself and that second place position. Even at one point, as fast and as smooth and as controlled as Caleb is, I'm sure he had to be asking himself and scratching his head, wow, what's gotten into these guys today, man? They're coming at it with all barrels blazing.
Yeah, and as we saw Grant cross the finish line there, the scoring read 14 seconds. That's the gap right now.
Wow.
14.640 seconds. Caleb Russell grabbing another drink bottle. Now, I do have to wonder, I think as we're looking at it now, we may see Grant Baylor possibly stop in for another splash of fuel. I believe Caleb should have enough to go the distance. We talked about that at some earlier rounds this year. They've done a lot of development during the offseason, actually built a new tank. Caleb was adamant about only wanting to stop one time whenever possible. So in a race like today, that could be the tail of the tape. As close as they're running, only 14 seconds between them. You're looking at an 8-9 second pit stop. That brings things back to real close. Now look down the far end of VP Fuels Pro Row. There we see Thad Duvall, speaking of pit stops, getting a splash of gas. Bad Chad Duvall has the gas can in, out. There you go. He's on his way. Looks like he might have gotten some fresh goggles. Definitely got a drink. Drops it quickly there. He got what he needed. He's on his way.
Wow, riding with a vengeance right now as he makes his way out of the pro pit area, and we continue to watch over near the finish line. Still, Josh Strang, only 4 riders checking in. Strang now 47 seconds back. Let's do the math here with the deficits. Russell and Baylor 14.6 seconds apart. Duvall another 26.8 seconds back. Josh Strang 47.6 seconds. Lap times, Caleb Russell just burned in the fastest one at 19 minutes, 21 seconds. A 19:32 for Grant Baylor, which is nothing to sneeze at right now, just not a 19:21, and a 19:56 for Thad Duvall.
Yeah, and last lap we saw it was Thad that put down the heater with the 19:30. Well, then, maybe they told that to Caleb, and he said, no, I want the fast lap time. So he came rocking back with that 19:21, and, we really saw a little bit of different riding from Caleb this last lap. It seemed before the previous 2 laps, he was really hard on the throttle. His feet were off. He was doing everything seemingly pushing so hard to go fast. And then this last lap on screen, we can be Monday morning quarterbacks all we want. It seems like he found his groove. We saw Caleb standing up on the pegs, flowing with the bike, letting it dance underneath him.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, by no means running away with it. Obviously, Grant Baylor doing a phenomenal job there. We haven't seen anybody keep Caleb this close in their sights this late in the race so far in 2015. Josh Strang's been very potent, obviously, with those 4 second-place finishes. We've seen him run Caleb very hard. We've seen Ryan Sipes do a good job early in the races, but with 2 hours and 20 minutes down and completing this race, for Grant Baylor to still be within striking distance. And Rodney, keep in mind, we talked about it a little bit earlier. When you can see him, you can catch him. Grant Baylor can see Caleb Russell in the field. Maybe not in the tight woods, but when they're out in the fields, he can see Caleb Russell up there.
And who's usually the fastest guy on the last lap of racing?
It was so far this year, it's been Grant Baylor.
Yeah, so, I mean, if that story holds true today and he keeps him in sight, we could be looking at a really exciting finish, and definitely the most exciting finish we've seen so far in this class in 2015.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know that we've seen the last of this battle for the lead. I mean, obviously with all the obstacles and all the hurdles that are left in front of them, you know, would I be surprised to see Caleb, you know, pull off another win? Absolutely not. But would I be equally as unsurprised to see? Is unsurprised the word?
I don't know.
Not surprised.
Not surprised.
Equally
yeah.
as not surprised to see Grant Baylor up in there battling, pushing him. And here we see Ryan Sipes working his way by at the BP Fuels Pro Row, the 2-mile marker.
Unsurprisingly.
Unsurprisingly, he's right where we expected him to be. If we take a look here after 7 laps of racing, Ryan finds himself in 6th place. And we were talking about him earlier, and just to wrap up what we were talking about, I had the opportunity to speak with him a little bit on Friday, and he said, you know, I can go faster. He said, but I just seem to crash when I do. He said, so I think I'm just going to go a little bit slower and see how it works. And certainly in 6th place position, that's not going slow. These are the fastest riders in the world. But what we're seeing is Ryan Sipes late in the race still up in battling, very close to a top 5 position, only 50 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn.
Great strides. Again, another part of this, maybe this game changer that I'm feeling coming on here at the midway point of this season. And quite possibly we are witnessing the advancement and the changes that may be about to take place. I know that, you know, oftentimes, and I hate to say it as a race fan, but these races have really turned out somewhat boring in a few instances. Hey, tell it like it is, man. You call me, you know, I can hype it up. I can talk about this. I can talk about that. But literally, that third hour, at least from a standpoint of the winning situation for Caleb Russell, it's gotten rather monotonous for him. But we do keep the excitement alive back in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But today, I mean, there's no monotony whatsoever. I mean, it's been exciting the entire way. And even right now with Caleb Russell stretching his lead out by about 15 seconds, it's not monotonous. And we were only about 5 seconds behind Johnny, if you just saw him go through there at the 4-mile marker. So actually, I'm getting reports that 15-second gap now is down to more like 7.
You know, it's really interesting. You know, we've talked about how Grant Baylor just pours it on at the end of this race, or these races. And, you know, Rodney, secretly in the back of my mind, I've been wondering, does Grant have all that energy? As there we see Thad Duvall working his way through, and man, did he just rail that rut. You know, Thad's impressive to watch. He just carries so much speed, so much aggression when he rides. But the crazy part is, as fast as he's going right now, it seems like Caleb Russell and Grant Baylor are pulling out on him a little bit.
I think so.
But, you know, I've kind of wondered, with Grant Baylor pushing as hard as he has early in this race, would he have the reserves that he's had these last few races to be able to charge at the end? You know, we're going to find out here real soon.
I think you're right. We'll find out about that and a whole lot more. What is going to be the big game changer? Can Grant Baylor continue this push? Can he challenge Caleb Russell to the checkers? We'll find out that and more when GNCC Live continues.
Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's Rubber Submount. Easy to install, at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless
And welcome back to GNCC Live, where we get a look at some of the wonders all around Lawrence County, which surround this Lawrence County Recreation Park. Back to GNCC Live, and of course the Limestone 100 GNCC with Rodney Tomlin, Johnny Gallagher.
Caleb Russell is down on screen. He's back up and going. Didn't lose too much time, but
look
he
at this!
loses the lead. Grant Baylor snags the lead. Caleb Russell down. Grant Baylor into the lead. Caleb Russell back up and hot on his heels.
Wow, that right there, we just witnessed maybe the pass, the game changer right there, quite possibly, Johnny Gallagher. We talked about Grant Baylor's speed, and we asked the question before the break. We see he's still got it right now, man. If he's got it for another 1 lap and 10.5 minutes, man, we might see a new winner here in 2015.
Rodney, that was intense. You know, I had the stopwatch out. I was just getting ready to get a split. Caleb comes through on screen and looked like he just clipped a little root with his front tire there. The bike came to a stop. He tipped over, and by the time he got it up and going, Grant Baylor picked another line, hammered down on that Ampro 450, and was right by and into the lead.
Wow, so there it is, my friends. We're watching history possibly unfold here today. Can Grant Baylor finally get that elusive overall win that he's been trying for from even back on row 2 for so many years?
And now we see Thad Duvall in the number 3 spot, so he's still hard on the gas chasing after these guys. And as of right now, very, very close. Still holding on to that podium position. We'll have to wait and see just where Josh Strang is at. We've talked about Strang and his consistency so far in 2015, being on the podium every single round. Well, unless he can reel in Thad Duvall, that may come to an end today. We'll have to see. Didn't look like we've seen Josh just yet. Now there's Strang checking in, so still definitely within striking distance of a podium position.
Nick
there
Davis
we
is
see Nick
going by
Davis.
down the pro row. You see him being towed by one of our track officials right there. So a tough break for the number 15 machine of the XC2 Pro Lights. Sorry, Johnny.
No, that's okay. It's unfortunate for Nick. He's had some really rough luck these last couple of rounds. Started off the season so strong with a win and a second in the first 2 rounds, and you know he's just been battling issues since then every race.
Man, heartbreaker there for him, but don't think he's not going to go back and dig deep. He's got some great, I think, folks to turn to in this situation. And Fred Andrews is going to certainly get this guy dialed back in mentally before the season's over. They got the right program. There's our leaders coming through, and man, look at this. Wow, this is going to be exciting right down to the wire there as Caleb Russell under the most pressure we've seen so far
Caleb
this year.
take an outside line there, Rodney. I'm sorry, we're going to have to wait and see where that pops back out because they should be. Oh, I'm sorry, they rerouted that there. I'm sorry. Yesterday, that switched back and came right back at the camera, so my apologies. I didn't mean to cut in on top of you.
That's all right. I know I know exactly what you're talking about there. So, wow. So with this race right here, I mean, it's still a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of unknown variables, and again, the same issues that we were talking about that could plague Caleb with the lap traffic and this, that, and the other, and now Grant Baylor sits in that position.
You know, in a race like this, second place really is the catbird seat. Now we see Jordan Ashburn working his way by at the 5-mile marker.
Yeah, I think that puts him, he's still running the top 5 position right now. And I think you're right about that catbird seat situation there, Johnny, by being back in second place, especially in this race today.
Yeah, and there's Thad Duvall. He worked his way by in the number 3 spot. Josh Strang, we know, was not too far behind him when we last checked in with them at the 5-mile marker, which is the shot we're looking at now. I believe what we're waiting for now should be our XC2 Lights leaders.
Hey, speaking of the XC2 Pro Lights there, Johnny, Megawatt, Matt Watson in the pits right now with Nick Davis to find out what's going on.
Hey, we're down here with Fred Andrews. Fred, we just saw Nick get towed in there, a very unusual sight. Can you give us a little update on what's going on?
Yeah, well, I kind of ran Nick out of gas at the beginning of the race. You know, we went an hour and 40 minutes in Big Buck, and I had it figured out this would be about an hour and 20. And, you know, we went 3 laps, and Nick came at short, and I ran him out of gas. So Barry Hawk gave him gas on the track, enough for him to get back us here in the pits. He came back to the pits. We filled him up. And then, you know, Nick being the rider he is, he's giving everything he got, trying to catch back up. And, you know, and he had to make some passes on some slow guys and kind of put himself in a water hole. And I think we sucked some water and just, you know, got in the motor, and now it doesn't want to go anymore. So, you know, I feel bad for Nick. You know, I really didn't think he would run out. I thought I had it figured good, but I guess I was wrong, and I apologize to him and the rest of the team. But, you know, we all make mistakes, and hopefully it won't happen again, and we'll come back after him again next week.
That's for sure, Fred. Good luck next week. Back to you, Rodney.
All right, thanks a lot. Johnny, we'll check back in on that. What's going on the screen right now?
At the 7-mile marker, we see the switchbacks in the field. We see Grant Baylor still leading the way. Man, the intensity is just at a feverish pitch right now. These guys are pushing so hard. Grant Baylor giving everything he's got out front. Caleb Russell throwing everything he has at him, trying to get around him. We saw Chandler, Caleb's wife, offer him a drink, and Caleb never even looked at her. The only thing he could see was the #1 spot, which was just inches in front of him, and man, was he going for it. So, wow, man, both these guys pushing so hard. This is the most exciting racing we've seen by far so far in 2015. Folks, if you're at home tuned in, you're getting to see one heck of a battle. If you're here at the track, you're seeing it firsthand. And if your friends aren't tuned in, you better call them, text them, do whatever you need to do, and say, hey, man, turn on Racer TV, because you're getting to see one for the ages right now. These guys are just absolutely throwing it down. Thad Duvall now working his way into the chicanes here at the 7-mile marker. There we see again moving that a little bit outside to get that traction. He's hard on it. They're letting him know exactly how far he is behind those top two. And, you know, with the way those guys are pushing, one little mistake, Thad could be right back up in there.
Most definitely. And as David Letterman, I think, used to put it, wake the neighbors, wake the dogs, wake the neighbors' dogs. We got ourselves a race shaping up. And, man, can we call it a barn burner yet? I haven't had a chance to do that yet this year.
You know what, Rodney? I don't necessarily even like that term, and I'll call it a barn burner because, man, I think the barn's on fire. Somebody better call the fire department.
That's for sure. Hey, back to Nick Davis there and Fred Andrews. I got to tip my hat to him taking the credit for the mistake there. That right there takes a lot to do. And it's a hard pill to swallow, especially from somebody's standpoint of Fred Andrews. So I know that's tough on the whole team around. But like Fred said, man, they got to pick their head up. They got to keep looking forward.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you rely on the crew so much, and obviously Fred Andrews, one of the best in the business. You know, he's been doing this a long time, and it's potentially you just never know what happened with the calculations there. If you know the mud was burning a little more fuel than they had anticipated, or the slick conditions, or you know, maybe just a mistake with the math or something small. But nonetheless, Nick running out of gas, and then, like Fred had said, pushing so hard to catch back up and ultimately making that mistake and putting it in the hole. And that's what happens, you know, in this type of racing. When you have to race for 3 hours, you have the opportunity to make up. But, man, it just when you're pushing that hard, it's hard to keep from making those small mistakes like that. And we see that even with Caleb Russell. You know, he was leading. Grant Baylor put a little bit of pressure on him, and Caleb makes that one small mistake. But I wouldn't say this one's over. I think the lead's going to swap back and forth between these two at least a couple more times before somebody finally takes the point position and says, no, this is mine. I'm keeping it to the finish.
Well, we're approaching 3 minutes left in this lap right now, Johnny. 2 hours and 35 minutes into the race itself. Grant Baylor at last check was leading Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall back in third, but now we just got the report. Looks like things have flopped back around. Johnny, you're absolutely right. Caleb back out front. Now Baylor back a couple of seconds behind in second.
Yeah, we saw quite a few left riders in that shot. So, again, man, they're almost like chess pieces at this point. Not only are you trying to make the passes, but you're trying to make them in such a way to put them almost as moving roadblocks between you and the guy you're trying to get away from. And that's exactly what we saw Caleb do coming down this creek bed here. He was able to make the pass, put a couple riders between himself and Grant Baylor, and lo and behold, that, you know, equates to a couple seconds there.
Yeah, and maybe as many as 5, but regardless, he can still see him. Regardless, we know that I don't think Grant is done. Again, less the question that we asked, could he have expended a little bit more energy in the early part of this race, which might play a little bit of a role here in the closing laps? That question remains to be answered still, as I believe our third place rider checking in there, Thad Duvall, making his way down the creek bed at the 8-mile mark. You know, the big question right now, Johnny, is I know that you mentioned it there just a few moments ago, but even with Nick Davis using a little extra fuel, you got to wonder if maybe the KTM guys might start taking those kinds of things into account. And just for a safety factor, because, I mean, one of the worst things that could happen is if Caleb does establish that lead and run out of gas on the last lap, they don't want him to lose it like that, I'm sure. So you got to wonder, are they doing a little bit thinking, is it going to be a little too close? Let's just go ahead and make the call, make that quick stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, but I don't see anybody getting ready over in the KTM semi there, and these guys are approaching the finish line. The other thing, you know, like I said, following on social media and kind of hearing the buzz, they put a lot of development into the fact that Caleb was strategizing around being able to pit only once this year, and with this race shaping up to be just barely over 2 hours, I don't know. I think I'm going to go with no. I don't think they're going to stop him for fuel, but if they do, maybe that's why he's pushing so hard, trying to open up that gap.
And a lot of it's going to hinge on when did he pit, too. You know, did he pit a little earlier in the race? I mean, I think there's a lot of variables to take into consideration. Right now, Caleb is making his way into the finish line region as we watch him winding through those final chicanes. We'll be looking at that white flag coming out. And I'm with you, Johnny. I'm not seeing a lot of action over there in the KTM pits. White flag adds out. So white flag is out, and Grant Baylor is 2.3 seconds behind Caleb Russell. Lap times 19 minutes 30 seconds for Russell. Get this, 19 minutes 18 seconds for Grant Baylor in the number 2 spot right now.
And Rodney, here they come down VP Fuels Pro Row. They're working their way in. It looks like they've made the turn. They're waiting. Here's the key. There's no fuel jugs in their hands, so they're definitely not going to pick Caleb. They're taking the, oh, wait, he's working his way back over. Nope, just a pit board.
They're not wanting to take any chances at letting that lead get stretched out right there. Look at this checkup from the neck up. How many times have you seen Caleb Russell this late in the race looking over his shoulder with that sense of urgency? This, my friends, regardless if it's a game changer or not, is definitely a great race on this final lap as we head into it.
It's a barn burner.
That's a barn burner. Somebody call the fire department. Somebody's playing with matches. Grant Baylor hot on the rear wheel of Caleb Russell right now as we are looking at less than 20 minutes before a checker flag should be flying here at the Limestone 100 GNCC.
You know, Rodney, as they work their way into the exit of the VP Fuels Pro Row, Caleb Russell came nearly to a stop to grab that drink bottle from his wife Chandler, and he took a look over his shoulder, saw Grant Baylor, and took a double take and said, man, I just can't shake this guy.
So this is the race that we as race fans have been waiting on all season long. The question, who was going to step up into Charlie Mullins' place and begin to challenge Caleb Russell? Well, today we've seen a lot of folks throwing their hat in the ring, and today we see that Grant Baylor is making a for sure push at it.
Yeah, Thad Duvall now working his way through the pro pits. So there we have our top 3. We saw a little bit of ground flying by there. That's what it looks like when you're on one of these things. Just imagine that a lot faster.
Wow. So here's the way things are looking. We got the top 4 riders. Only the top 4 riders have checked in so far. Russell and Baylor, 2 seconds, 2.3 seconds separating. 1 minute, 0.9, so a minute, 1 seconds back to Thad Duvall now. Josh Strang, 34.5 seconds back. Lap times, a 19.52 for Thad Duvall, 19.39 for Josh Strang. We may see that tighten up here on this lap. This could be a battle starting to shape up for third in that final podium position. And though Strang may not be in position right now to get that second that we've seen him getting so consecutively, he is looking at the possibility of getting on the podium.
Yeah, you know, Strang really, you know, he realizes right now he's kind of the, I guess you will say, the number 2 guy right now. He's number 2. He's been second in every race. He's second in points. And, you know, for him to be able to step on the podium today, that's a big step in the right direction for him to continue to battle for this championship. Because with Caleb Russell, regardless of, you know, obviously with nearly 20 minutes of racing left, we don't know how this one's going to shape up. But if Caleb ends up winning or in that number 2 spot, Strang's going to want to limit the amount of points that he gives up. So he's certainly going to claw and clamor and do everything that he can to get up on that podium, not only for the points, but also the, you know, the bragging rights, the confidence, and the ability to get up there, thank the people that make it happen for him.
Yeah. I tell you, again, this has just been one of the greatest days that we've seen so far as this motorcycle racing is concerned. We've seen some good battles for second, third, and fourth, and so forth, but to see the battle up front like this, it has got the race fans on the edge of their seats 16.5 minutes out before we should expect to see Caleb Russell and Grant Baylor, or Grant Baylor and Caleb Russell making their way to the finish line, and finally the checkers to the end of this one. The sense of urgency by Caleb Russell here late in the race, something we haven't seen, and the determination, the headstrong will of that young man that knows nothing but doing what seems to be impossible of Grant Baylor, man. He is right there in that position, and he is about to do it again, man. He is one of those kids that has broken records. He has one of those kids that has far exceeded any expectations of people in his position that have ever been expected. And today, he may be ready to do it as a rookie, go straight up, head-to-head with one of the fastest men on the planet on 2 wheels in the woods, talking about Caleb Russell. Hey, we got a big, I believe, an update coming in from Big John. Big John, you got us an update? So I believe that we might have had an update coming in. I'm going to switch over to channel 2, see if Big John, you on channel 2?
Rodney, you got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead. You got us an update?
The 3.5 mile marker, Caleb with Grant Baylor on his tail.
10-4, John. Keep us up to date on that. We're watching this as well. They came out of the pro pits. They were basically nose to tail the whole way, and this is going to be a good one, man.
Well, Rodney, that was the 3.5, and now here we are at the 4. We see Big Stu Baylor pipboard in hand as we wait for the leaders to work their way through. And there is Caleb Russell, and there's Grant Baylor again, nose to tail. And we see, looks like Lane Michael there, one of our XC2 riders, going a lap down as he jumps in right behind Grant Baylor there, but lets those guys move on through and continue their battle.
Wow, folks, it is on, it is on, it is on. Mile marker number 4, Caleb Russell, still with a slight lead over Grant Baylor right now. Thad Duvall, again, a minute back in the number 3 spot. Josh Strang, that's another battle we're wanting to watch and see how it's developing as he is turning about a 15-second faster lap. There are 35 seconds to separate the two, but late in the race, any mistakes that Duvall may make, Strang may try to capitalize on, and vice versa. Duvall might be able to capitalize on late race mistakes by Josh Strang as well.
Yeah, you know, Rodney, with 4 miles down already in this final lap of racing as they work their way towards the checkered flag, you know, it's hard to believe that we've got less than 5 miles to go.
I know. This is crazy. So as we're watching this one unfold and biting our nails, Johnny, don't go anywhere, folks, because the conclusion of this greatest race so far we've seen in 2015 on the motorcycle side of things will continue after this on GNCC Live.
In 2015, Monster Energy Supercross tears through Las Vegas.
This is going to be a good one.
As the world's fastest riders hit the track for a Sin City showdown.
Las Vegas, the season finale. They're going to go bar to bar. What's going to happen?
That's what I'm talking about. The finale of the Monster Energy Supercross season. Saturday, May 2nd, Sam Boyd Stadium.
Live as we watch the grassroots of GNCC, right where that rider right there began, Caleb Russell, who has now established a little bit of a lead. I'm not going to call the comfort zone just yet, Johnny Gallagher, as we are at the 5 mile marker. A lap ago, we saw the big pass taking place there by Grant Baylor on Caleb Russell after that mistake. This time around, though, looks like he has really tightened his ship up quite a bit, and it looks like he has stretched out to what now, about 10 seconds, 11 seconds now in front of Grant Baylor. Something big happening in that last mile of racing.
Well, either something big happened or Caleb Russell grabbed a big handful of throttle.
Yeah,
one way or the other, we've seen a gap open up. We'll have to wait and see just how far back it is to Thad Duvall. Thad in the 3rd place spot. Last we saw them at the 4 mile marker, and should be clicking along here within about 50 seconds or so. But Rodney, you know, this isn't over yet. You know, we're at the 5 mile marker. We've still got some of the more challenging technical and difficult parts of the course still ahead of these guys.
Yeah, and I think this is probably where we've seen some of the bigger surprises. We were anticipating one thing, and then all of a sudden things are a little different. So that might be another case in this matter today. So we'll just keep watching to see what's going on. Hey, do want to welcome out our local AMSOIL independent dealer here at the GNCC this weekend. Folks here at the racetrack, stop on by, check out the great products at great prices and all the great things they have, and also sign up to win in the AMSOIL America Adventure. There is that Bad Duvall back in the number 3 spot. By the way, Rural Lube AMSOILs, who our independent dealer is, we want to welcome those guys out and thank them for being a part of this GNCC here in the Hoosier State.
Yeah, Thad looks like he's settled into a pretty good pace right now. I think he, at least for now, seems to be safe in that number 3 spot. Not sure if he's going to be able to make the charge to get up there and battle with Grant for second or even Caleb for the win, but right now it looks like he's got a pretty solid gap over strength, so barring any kind of a run-in with lappers or a mistake on his part, I think he's going to be safe in that podium position for the remaining 5 miles or so that we have left.
So here we are watching at the 5-mile marker, and wow, so many things developing and then undeveloping, and there, I thought that was strain coming in, but what we're out there, it was strain coming in, so we got that going on there at the 5-mile marker. Now we pick back up with our leaders at the 7-mile marker. I believe Caleb Russell making his way through.
That's not 11 seconds, Rodney. He's closed that back down maybe to somewhere around 6 seconds or so. So it's a little bit of a battle of the bulge right now. You know, it goes, it comes, it gets bigger, it gets smaller, and that gap is ever changing. It's the ebb and flow of the tide coming in and out.
Kind of like my diet.
Kind of like my weight. At the 7-mile marker, Caleb holds a slim margin, but somewhat comfortable margin over Grant Baylor. But again, we talked about this earlier in the race. These guys got to work their way back down into that valley one last time before they come to the finish. You know, it could be nothing short of one lapper, one mistake, that this race tightens right back up and it's wheel to wheel, and these guys are banging bars coming to the finish.
Going to be exciting, and you have to think that regardless of how this race ends up, this has probably been the most exciting race from the standpoint of Caleb Russell and even Grant Baylor today, because at the end of this one, you would think that they're going to have big smiles on their face. Even Grant finishing second place will have a big smile on his face, but he'll also have he wants that win, but he hasn't got the taste of victory yet, so it's not going to be as bitter for him to take second. Now, Caleb, on the other hand, it could be a very bitter taste to take second place. Hey, who do you think's going to do it, Johnny? AMSOIL Twitter contest. Want to remind you of that. Tweet your podium finish predictions to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL products. Again, winner will be chosen randomly, but we want to know, who do you think is going to be on top of that podium? Hashtag, again, GNCC Live for your chance to win in their AMSOIL Twitter contest. There we're starting to see the fatigue of these riders set in. That's another thing we need to take into account. Not only these riders' fatigue, but the lap traffic's fatigue on these grueling and demanding conditions that these riders are having to race. So again, not only do you have the variable of the lap rider, but now the fatigued lap riders variable.
Yeah, you know, and it's tough for anybody out there. And there we see Jordan Nash. Oh, it looked like he was going to go down, but those long legs saved him. He's working his way through at the 5-mile mark. That's a pretty technical little section there. And now we see Caleb Russell at the 7. He's got these couple little chicanes, and then he's going to work his way down over the hill and out of sight. And that'll be the last time we see him till the finish. So let's see what kind of a gap we have right now. Looks like they seem a little more under control. The KTM guys do. They feel like they've maybe got this one in hand. We'll have to see.
There we go. We're watching and waiting, and there is that him there?
Yeah, it looks like it's back right up to about that 11 seconds. So again, it's that the gap, it grows, it shrinks, it grows, it shrinks, and you know, regardless of how this one pans out, you've absolutely got to give it to Grant Baylor on this one, and obviously Caleb Russell, if he can pull this out with 3 miles remaining, you know, he's withstood everything that Grant Baylor could throw at him. But man, hats off to young Grant. You know, he's done such a phenomenal job, and we actually saw this battle quite a few times last year. The only difference was it was on the clock.
Yeah, on the clock, and this time it's physically nose to tail on this racetrack and back and forth like that. And again, you know, coming into this one, I kept talking about game changers, and I didn't say that Caleb Russell was going to lose the race or that he was going to be beaten. I felt that there was the biggest challenges yet in 2015, quite possibly on their way today. And somehow or another, Johnny, that has come to fruition. The hype has lived up to its dream, man. I mean, it is just that. And the game changer, what I mean by that is now Grant Baylor, now that he's in that position, you know that's where he's going to want to be next time. And you know he's going to be pushing in the off weeks to be there when the gate drops next time.
Thad Duvall down on camera at the 7-mile marker. We talked, he had a pretty comfortable lead over Josh Strang, but that certainly wasn't what he was looking to do. To give him a couple of seconds, we'll wait and we'll see exactly what he's got on Strang. As he comes around that corner, we'll start the clock. He takes a look over Strang, not in that field section just yet, so not within sight of Thad Duvall, but he should be popping up over the hill just about any second. Maybe he was a little further back than what we had anticipated, or maybe he had a little setback of his own.
Yeah, he was about 35 seconds at the end of the lap there in the XC1 Pro class, due in at the finish in about 4.5 minutes. You guys need to get down there and cheer these guys on. Caleb Russell, Grant Baylor, and Thad Duvall. I can imagine there's a lot of happy folks that are going to be pretty stoked to see what all three of these guys were able to achieve today.
Yeah, we still waiting on Josh Strang. It's been 40 seconds since we've seen Thad Duvall. And still no Josh Strang. There he is. So we're going to be looking at about 50, give or take about 55 seconds. So that's that gap's opened up a little bit. We saw Thad had a little miscue on camera there, but you know, Josh having to work his way through lappers, and yep, 55 seconds exactly. So these guys are they're still pushing hard. That podium position still up for grabs, and again, we still got 3 miles of racing left.
That's crazy, man. I mean, to think that we have gone from the types of races that we've seen so far down to this one here, the nail biter, as our leaders are working their way around to the finish line and the checkers. 3.5 minutes out before we should expect to see those guys coming through those finish line chicanes and into the checkers. Caleb Russell enjoying at last check an 11-second lead over Grant Baylor. We saw that a couple miles before. It had tightened up to maybe closer to 7, but lengthens back out to 11 seconds again. So we continue to wait and wonder this next section of track, Johnny, what are the final couple of miles like for these riders?
Well, we just saw them come by at the 8-mile marker, and we've talked about a little bit what we've got down there is we've got this riverbed, and then it works its way along what for us was a pretty gnarly section yesterday, but they've trimmed that up a little bit. The bottom kind of fell out of it. There were no good lines left. We were just having to really bulldog our way through there. So these guys are running along a ridge a little bit below where we were. So from here to the finish line there, I walked it all this morning. There really isn't anything difficult or technical that's going to stop these guys. It's really just lap riders and their pace. And, you know, Rodney, as exciting as this action's been today, I've been as poor as our cell service has been. I've been getting quite a few text messages, people tuned in saying, man, great racing. We just had actually my boss at Yamaha, Donnie Luce, he's on his way back from a weekend of riding in the desert. He's tuned in and he says, hey, Grant Baylor's getting it done out there today, and man, what exciting coverage. We're watching in the truck on the way home.
That is amazing. That is the great thing about this this whole RacerTV.com thing, man. I mean, you look at something that most people look at you and say you're crazy. We took the risk, we took the gamble, we went to work for it, and it is paying off in huge dividends for the GNCC Racing Nation that can't be here. The opportunity to be able to do that. Donnie, welcome aboard and welcome along here at GNCC Live. Glad that you folks are listening in, and we are certainly looking at big things for the Blue Crew over there, no doubt about it, and big things for GNCC Racing today. Caleb Russell looks like he's on his way to his 5th consecutive victory, but at the same time, the face of this championship, or at least today's racing, has made it appear that the face of the championship could get a little bit more exciting as the season wears on, and we might see a little more challenges coming by the way of some of these other riders right straight to the front door of Caleb Russell.
Yeah, Caleb's just got one more turn to go. And,
here he comes.
He's got this one in hand, it appears. Got a left rider in front of him. Looks like one of the XC2 guys. He pulls over, lets Caleb go through. Caleb makes the left, and there we go. No fist pump, no real celebration. Caleb, you know, he worked hard for this one.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Caleb Russell making it 5 wins in a row here in 2015 under the most challenges we've seen so far in this racing season. But folks, let me tell you, here comes the guy, the man of the hour, the 3:14 there. You see him checking in, young Grant Baylor. It says 19 seconds at the finish line, a 19:04 lap time. the fastest lap of the day, and get this, a 19:21 lap time for Grant Baylor, his fastest lap of the day, and yet it still wasn't enough. But I'm telling you, he knows where he's at. He knows what he's gauging for, and the great thing about it is he knows he can run the entire 3 hours now at that pace, at that level, and it is going to be exciting to see if that young man can get back up front and get some of these starts in the near future, what the face of these races are going to be shaping up like for the rest of this 2015 AMSOIL GNCC season. Excitement, to say the least. Grant Baylor finishing second today behind Caleb Russell. We wait for that number 3 position. Thad Duvall was running about a minute behind, but again, another phenomenal ride by Thad Duvall as he puts it in, actually redeems himself and everything that took place just a couple of weeks ago down in South Carolina. This right here shows the fortitude, it shows the maturity, it shows the heart, it shows the will of Thad Duvall, and I think it shows the heart, fortitude, and will of a lot of riders out here, what we were able to see transpire here at this Limestone 100 GNCC today, the game changer.
It's a game changer for sure, and Thad Duvall working his way through the final corners. We see him on camera here. He is going to be your third place finisher today here at the Limestone 100. And one thing that it did besides change the game was answer some questions.
Yes,
and
it
Rodney,
did.
a lot of people have been asking, can Caleb Russell go faster? If he was pushed, does he have more in the tank? And I think today we found the answer.
I think
Grant
we did.
Baylor dug deep, pushed him right to the end, and when it came right down to it, Caleb Russell put in by far the fastest lap of the race on the final lap to stretch out that gap. So Caleb, as much as he looks like he's pushing, when he finds that rhythm, he finds a way to even go faster, but Grant Baylor nearly matched him that last lap, just some 15 seconds shy.
2 hours, 57 minutes, 50 seconds is what it took from the drop of the green flag for Caleb Russell to cross that finish line here today. He takes the wing. Grant Baylor takes second. Thad Duvall rounds out the top 3, and we'll be back with our podium celebrations when GNCC Live continues.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pulls per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
May 2nd, 2015, Monster Energy Supercross tears through Las Vegas.
This is going to be a good one.
As the world's fastest riders hit the track for a Sin City showdown.
Las Vegas, the season finale. They're going to go bar to bar. What's going to happen?
That's what I'm talking about. The finale of the Monster Energy Supercross season. Saturday, May 2nd, Sam Boyd Stadium.
This Racer TV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to GNCC Live as we come to you from Springville, Indiana, as we just wrapped up the near 3-hour battle, constant battle between Caleb Russell, Grant Baylor, and Thad Duvall, as that's the way they'll go to the podium here today for the overall standings. And at 3 hours and 2 minutes into this race, we still are watching for the battle in the XC2 Pro Lights Class 2 subside, where Jason Thomas battled early on with several riders on board that number 17 machine, the young Englishman, and of course by midway through the race he had established a dominating lead, and heading into the final lap looking at a 1-minute 53-second lead over the young Craig DeLong, the number 18 machine. And Ricky Russell, last race winner, able to work his way up through the pack into the number 3 position, 1 minute and 14 seconds behind DeLong. The gap's quite large in that XC2 Pro Lights class, but I think a lot of statements trying to be made there today, as well as we saw Thomas trying to establish himself as a dominant force, but at the same time recognizing that Ricky Russell is clawing his way up through the ranks right now. And I think that this particular story today in that 3rd place position for Ricky Russell is a true indication of that. If you look at what this race is like, that's what this season has been like for that young rider as well. As we are watching our podium now, making its way down there for the overall, the XC1 Pro class, and making its way up onto the podium with a third-place position finish overall here today. Put your hands together. Hoosier State for the number 989 of Bad Thad Duval.
Check, check.
Second place there, rolling up onto the podium. We're talking about game changers. He might be the key piece into today's game. Is number 314, taking the second place position today and pushing all the way. How about it for the young Grant Baylor? And, of course, right there in the center of the box, showing that he can be shaken, he can be pushed, he can be punched. But one thing he can do is he can punch back, and he can punch back hard. 5 wins in a row. Put your hands together for Caleb Russell. Let's head down to the podium where Matt Watson stands by with our top 3 overall.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rodney. What an unbelievable race. Let's give it up one more time, you guys, for one of the most exciting races of the season. Make some noise for these guys. That's right. Absolutely. Hey, we're going to make our way over here to third place right now. Bad Thad got off to a pretty good start there. You're setting a pretty good pace, man. What developed out there?
It was a good race. I'm a little disappointed in myself. Just started crashing a lot towards the end. I don't know what was going on. Just kind of lost concentration. I had a real bad crash with a lapper. Just kind of came over, and not his fault, just kind of got into him, and we both yard sailed, and he helped me get up, and he already had my bike started by the time I got off the ground. So just from there on, I just struggled all day. My front end was all tweaked and stuff, but it was good. It was fun to get up and run with Caleb and just kind of see how he put so much time on us. But the kid's ripping, and me and him kind of got a little gap from everybody, and the next thing I know, I had somebody chewing all over me. I looked back, and it was Grant, and he was riding really, really good. He passed me, and I think he passed Caleb at one time too. So I don't know, it's just one of those days that this track shapes up some good racing, and man, it was rough and ruddy, but it was fun.
Really looks like you're getting along with that new bike. I talked to your dad. Didn't take long for you to feel comfortable on that thing.
Yeah, no, it's good. The team, KR4 Rocky Mountain's been pushing me good, so I'm excited, and big thanks to Husqvarna. They've been helping me out a good bit, so we've been getting the bike really, really good and getting it better each and every weekend.
Right on. So another great day for the KR4 team. Who else do you want to thank, big guy?
Rocky Mountain ATV, AMSOIL, Maxxis Tires, KR4 Arrive and Ride, WRP, Enduro Engineering, Pro Circuit, just the whole fly crew, and the fans out there today were awesome. And my mom and dad and DQ, he's had my bike the last 2 weeks and got it prepped and stuff. It's been a little weight off my dad's shoulder. It's been fun. So it's been awesome, just everybody out there cheering me on and all the sponsors making me get up here and get these podiums.
Awesome. Well, good to see you up here again. Put your hands together, make some noise for third place, Bad Thad Duval. All right, we're going to make our way over here to Mr. Baylor right now. We've been looking for this speed. We've been looking for this kind of action out of you, man. What clicked this weekend? How did it happen?
I got off good start. I had to jump on everybody, then overshot the first corner a little bit, and just barely missed the whole shot, but went in the woods second behind Jordan, and then me and Jordan overshot a corner, and Thad got by us, and then I was still in second, and we were all right there, probably 6 of us, just going back and forth for the first few laps, and there's so many lines. One of us would jump in a deep rut and get a little bit slower, and the other one would go by, and it was awesome racing. The track was really good. It was nice and rutted, and I don't know, I hooked up with Caleb there towards the end, and we were going back and forth for the few last laps, and he got away from me on the last lap there. I didn't have anything for him, so he was on it.
Well, I got to say, it really looks like you're getting along with this blue bike. How's that working?
It's awesome. Suspension's awesome. The whole team's awesome.
Speaking of the team, who else is part of the team?
Your riders.
No, all your sponsors.
NVAB, Emperor Yamaha, Gear Alloy, FMF, Pro Taper, Yamalube, my mechanic, Corey McDonald, my mom and dad, Bell helmets, Leah neck braces, CD boots, MSR, and my mom and dad, my brother, and everybody out there cheering me on.
Right on. Well, let's give it up for second place right now. This guy put it on there. They call him the Baylor. Mr. Baylor in second place today. And now we make our way over one more time to the center of the podium with KR1. Caleb, I tell you, it apparently doesn't matter. Whole shot, bad start, maybe a little bit of drama in the first turn. But you know what? You're putting it together. You're putting your head down. And, man, oh, man, what's the motivation right now?
It was a tough day straight from the start. Went down on the second turn, and I knew that was going to be tough because there's so many lines to pass and catch up. But you kind of really ruin your goggles and everything, and it's really easy to keep making mistakes and falling backwards. But it took me a good little bit, probably almost the whole lap before I could catch up to the leaders and see them. And man, the track was slick, and it was a lot worse than what I anticipated it being from yesterday, and then it got better and better. And Grant was riding good. It's one of those tracks when it gets like this, like when you can kind of bulldog your way through stuff. Grant's obviously good at that, so he was riding well, and I pulled out there a lead, and man, it was just really hard to lead today. There were so many lines, and it was one of those days where you wanted somebody in front of you to kind of key off of, and I tried to get in the lead, and I tried to pull out, and I never could, and that last lap, I knew I just needed to try to minimize the mistakes and ride well, and I was able to come away with a win, but Grant and Thad were riding good today.
And you're really good at that, minimizing mistakes. You don't make a lot of mistakes for sure. And when did you decide, man, it's time to make a move, it's time to really get on it?
After the second turn.
That's your style, man, no doubt about that. Put your hands together for our overall winner today, Caleb Russell. Third place, Thad Duvall. Second place, Mr. Baylor. Stand back for our champagne shower right now. These guys getting ready to spray the crowd. All our kids making their way forward. Everybody wants that shower right now. And give it up one more time for our top three here in XC1 Pro at the Limestone GNCC 2015.
Well, there you go, folks. There are your top three today. And what a race and a show they put on for us. We talked about the game changers, this midway part of the season. Things could really start to shake up. And could this be an indication of what the rest of 2015 could hold if young Grant Baylor and Thad Duvall and Josh Strang and everybody can keep things together? Wow, what the rest of this season holds is limitless. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what, Caleb Russell has got his hands full for sure. And without much issue today on that last lap, was able to take the win and make it 5 in a row in the champagne shower as these riders complete their championship celebrations here today. And wow, what a day. I'm just sitting back reflecting on this whole thing and the amazing things that have taken place. And, as we said coming into this one, never knowing what's going to happen, kind of expected something really good to happen and something to shake things up, and quite possibly it is. And, of course, I'm sure a lot of other folks were thinking the same thing. And here's what we have as far as our AMSOIL Twitter contest winner. This is how it looks like Missy Russell Martz at Rocking M decided that she thought things were going to turn out. She picks Russell, G. Baylor, and Bad Thad Duvall. And she actually got it right, ladies and gentlemen. She tweeted that in at 12:52, about 40 minutes before the actual start of the race. So congratulations, Missy Russell Martz. You were on it today and got it exactly right, and did it before the race even started. So obviously she saw things happening as well. Russell, Baylor, Duvall, that's her picks, and she gets $250 in great AMSOIL product. And speaking of $250, we got $250 in our All Balls Whole Shot Award to give away as we head back down to the podium with Matt Watson.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rodney. We got one more award to give out here in our XC1 class. Jordan, man, you got off to a great start. Pulled that whole shot. You get the All Balls Whole Shot Award XC1, $250, man. Tell us what happened after that start.
I got a pretty good start, and then second corner, I kind of slid out a little bit, and I think Caleb hit my rear tire and fell down, and I just tried to go out that first lap, and then about halfway through, I missed a right-handed turn and kind of got off the track and kind of got behind there, but fought back up and just kind of battled for the first couple, 3 or 4 laps, and then just kind of had some problems after that, fell over, and kind of lost sight, and then that's kind of it.
Well, I tell you what, you always put in a hard ride. You always put in 100% effort. And today you got an extra $250 from All Balls to put in the pocket.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited.
Awesome. Put your hands together for our whole shot winner in the XC1, Mr. Jordan Ashburn.
Well, there you go. Jordy Ashburn grabbing $250 from her friends at All Balls Racing and All Balls Bearings and Components. So setting a good tone and a good pace for this one. Jordan actually a good, for the first hour or so, was a good part of that front 5 or 7 battle. I think there were more like 7 riders in that battle through the halfway point of this race today. But there toward the end, man, in the last half of the race, it started stretching out as we take a look at a Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com leaderboard. The Limestone 100 GNCC shaping up like this. Caleb Russell with the win, Grant Baylor in second, Duvall in third, Josh Strang checking in the number 4 spot. Jordan Ashburn rounds out 5th, then in 6th place, another valiant effort by Ryan Sipes. Chris Bach turning in the number 7 position. Andrew DeLong taking the 8th place position, as Jason Thomas will get credit for the 9th place overall finish, and looks like it's going to take the win in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Craig DeLong, who took 2nd in the XC2 Pro Lights class, will finish up rounding out the top 10 overall. And as we look at that XC2 Pro Lights, Ricky Russell does check in. He is 3rd place in the XC2 Pro Lights class, and just throwing it out there, Russell also gets 11th place overall. And that's the way the Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com leaderboard shakes up at the end of this one, folks. And wow, what a great day here at the Limestone 100 as we reset that podium down there right now and get ready for our XC2 Pro Lights class riders. Talk about some crazy things going on in that, and that's another class that we're oftentimes lent the opportunity to watch wheel-to-wheel, nose-to-tail type battling. But today, a little bit different scenario shaping up in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Not to say that it was any less exciting nonetheless, but most definitely it was certainly a little bit different than what it has been. I want to say good day to our good friends from over at the American Motorcyclists Association as they make their way out. Of course, my buddy, I call him AMA Joe. We're talking about Ken Salon. And want to say thanks to those guys for making their way in. Chuck Weir also out here with us. Chuck, thanks again for being such a big part of our GNCC Racing Nation. And the AmericanMotorcyclist.com. If you're not an AMA member, man, poke it up on your websites or on your computers right now as you're watching, and become a member of the AMA, because it's great organizations like that to help fight for our rights and freedoms in the government there in Washington, that help keep great places like this, a bait of Indiana's motorcycle park, this Lawrence County recreational facility, open for great opportunities for folks to come out and ride on the weekends and come out and race like this at the GNCC as well. So pretty cool stuff, and pretty good to be a part of that AMA family as well. As Ricky Russell has made his way up to the podium there at Victory Lane, and we await our other 2 top 3 in the XC2 Pro Lights. Again, Craig DeLong in 2nd, and Jason Thomas going to be making his way up into the center of the box here in just moments. Now, Thomas has been around for about 6 minutes or so before the rest of the field actually made their way in, so you got to think, where's he at? Oh, he must have went back and got all cleaned up. Look how fresh Jason Thomas is looking. Oh, UK JT looking good today as our top 3 in the XC2 Pro Lights on the podium. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. And the number 3 spot today, he's rough, he's rowdy, he's Ricky Russell. Taking the number 2 spot today aboard the number 18, Craig DeLong. And your 2015 Limestone 100 GNCC XC2 Pro Lights winner, Jason Thomas.
Check, check, check. All right, thanks a lot, Rodney. We're standing here, like you said, with rough and ready Ricky Russell. Man, you look disappointed. You, when I told you great job, you kind of shook your head and shrugged it off. What's happening, man?
I just struggled the whole first half of the race. I had bad arm pump, and wrist was bothering me a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it took me a little while to get my flow. I had to do some suspension tuning in the middle of the race, and it got better, but it just was too late by then. I was able to gain some time on them guys, but not enough. I'm just happy to get back on the podium, though.
Right, and we're glad to see you on the podium, and we know you'll be back stronger than ever. Who do you want to thank for helping you get up here today, man?
I got to thank the whole Reigns Riding University, Atlas, Yamaha, Off-Road Viking team. Fly Racing, the Blue Crew, Ampro, Randy and all them, all the help they give me. Kenda Tires, Stickman Graphics, Fast Flex Bars, Dur Engineering, Unibiker, the wrist brace guy for hooking me up with some of these wrist braces. I'm like a robot out there. Factory Connection Suspension, Recluse, GPR, FMF, and just all my sponsors and friends cheering me on.
Well, awesome. Great ride, dude, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks in the next round.
Thank you.
Awesome. Give it up for Ricky Russell in third place XC2 today. Now we're making our way over. I'm over to second place right now. Craig DeLong. Craig, looked like it got rough out there today. Looked like you were up and down a couple spots today, back and forth. Tell us about your ride.
Yeah, I ended up with a pretty good start, going like third into the woods, and then Ryder was ahead of me, and then Nick got around me, and then we were freight training, and we kind of got out a little bit, and got by Ryder, and was actually leading for a few miles, and then got shuffled back to second again, but we had a good first couple laps. We were going back and forth, and we were having a good freight train, the four of us, Jason, Nick, and Ricky, but I'm not sure what happened with Nick's bike, but kind of that's a bummer because he was riding good, but yeah, today was a good day.
Yeah, it was a good day for you, that's for sure. And you know what? Where'd you decide? I'm going to make up some time. I'm really going to put it down here. What section of the track?
I knew in the beginning that you have to be there. Like you have to be there from the first lap, and because if you lose those guys, you lose them for the whole race. So I tried my hardest to stay with them in like the first 3 laps because that's when they really push, and ended up doing that. So I mean, it kind of solidifies yourself in a good solid position, and then you just kind of ride your own race from there.
Right on. Who you want to thank today? Who helped you get up here, boss?
I definitely want to thank Husqvarna USA, Timmy Wagon, Joey, Dunlop Tires, FMF Exhaust, Moose Racing, Enduro Engineering, Ride PG Suspension and Graphics, Pro Taper, CD Boots, Bellray Oils, Motorcycle Superstore, everyone else, my mom, my dad for working on my bike, my brother, Angelina, my girlfriend, and anyone else that I forgot. Thanks.
Hey, well, great. All right, let's give it up for the number 18 in second place today. And we're going to make our way over to the middle of the podium for, I think, the second time this season. Second win? Third time, I'm sorry. And we're talking about JT, of course, Jason Thomas. Now, Jay, it looked pretty rough out there today. We know we kept talking about when the track comes to us. It doesn't look like you were waiting for the track to come to us today.
No, you know, I knew straight away that the track was totally me, 100%. I went down on the start, and I got back up and went straight to the front, and I just felt good. You know, it was a really good day, and you know, I was thinking there on the last lap, you know, it couldn't have gone any better, and it was enjoyable to ride and bring it in. So, yeah, I mean, it was rough and it was technical, but that's what I grew up in, so it just suited me today.
Any close calls, any near misses, anything like that to make you concerned today?
Yeah, you know, I had a lot of moments the first couple of laps, and then the last lap there, I slammed it into a tree, and there isn't really anything that's not normal, to be honest. So it was, yeah, I mean, I'm here in one piece, and that's what counts. So I had to keep pushing because I knew Craig would be charging at the end and could possibly catch me. So yeah, I kept pushing all the way to the end, and yeah, managed to put it in the middle.
Right on. Well, who helped put that machine up here today?
Dirtwise Riding Schools and DVDs, Maxxis Tires, Climb Technical Riding Gear, Liat chest protectors and neck braces, Dirt Trick sprockets, SRT, Flex handlebars, IMS, HPD graphics, Spectra oils, DP brakes, IMS tanks, Stillwell suspension. You know, the suspension was tip top again today. It was really, really on point. So can't thank Alan enough at Stillwell. One Batman mechanic, Shane Watts for putting the whole deal together and really being, you know, just an awesome friend and mentor, and all the people out there cheering. Thank you.
Right on. Let's hear for our winner today, Jason Thomas in our XC2 Pro class. And Jason, you're familiar with this right here. You know what this is all about. Step up there and spray that thing off, my man.
Well, to the victory
that
goes
didn't
the
take
spoil.
long. This guy's a pro.
The spoils and GNCC once again, Megawatt, the sweet, sweet spray of champagne. And like you said, it didn't take Jason Thomas long to figure out how to get that off the top off that bottle as he shares the victory celebration drink with his mechanic there. And our top 3 overall make their way to the front of the podium now. Once again, Limestone fans, put your hands together for our top 3 XC2 Pro Lights. Ricky Russell in 3rd, Craig DeLong in 2nd, and Jason Thomas, your winner. So going to be looking next at our top amateur ranks. Now, remember, we talk a lot about this, and top amateur has switched around quite a bit here in 2015. And once again, it flip-flops around. We've seen some Open A riders. We've actually seen vet riders in position on a couple of different occasions. But when everything finally panned out in this one today, it's looking like we're looking for the number 330 of Vance Francis out of Bonnyman, Kentucky, your 258 class leader heading into the 9th and final lap, and I believe that's who we may be looking at for a top amateur overall. We'll have to wait and see what the official call on that is. I'm not sure if he's made it in just yet, but wow, just amazing to me to think that we have really such a monumental spread as far as the finishes are in these classes today, but I think a lot of that hinges on the fact that of the intensity of that XC1 Pro Class ride that we saw up there that was battling so intensely. They stretched things out from the rest of the pack so much that it seems like everyone else is falling in a little late, but that's not the case. They were just that much faster. And right now, so we head down to the Maxxis Victory Lane once again. We check in again with Matt Watson, who's with our XC2 Pro
Hey,
Lights
thanks
Whole
again,
Shot
Rodney.
Award winner.
Down here with our XC2 Whole Shot Award winner, Ryder Lafferty. Now, Ryder, I want to tell you, it looked like you were shot out of a cannon, man. That thing hooked up right to the first turn you went. What were you thinking?
I don't know really what I was thinking. It just happened. I wanted to get the whole shot, get out front early, and lead the first lap, and that's what I did.
Right on. Now, what is the GNCC series doing for you? What's going on with it? How you feel about it? And what's it doing for your riding?
It's really good so far. This is my 3rd race doing them so far. I raced the national enduros also, and it helps with my intensity and everything like that for nationals. But I do want to do good at these and get up there on the podium.
Right on. Well, congratulations on your ride today. You got an extra $100 from Hot Cams, and we look forward to seeing you in more races, and we're glad you're here, Ryder, for sure. Give it up for Ryder Lafferty with our Whole Shot Award in the XC2s.
Well, there you have it, and loving hearing that name Lafferty. Again, was reported to me that actually the nephew of a former Enduro great and also GNCC great, of course, talking about none other than Mike Lafferty, and good to see Ryder on the podium with that Whole Shot Award today. And speaking of podiums, back down to Maxxis Victory Lane where Johnny Gallagher stands by with our top amateur of the day.
And here we are today, folks, with your 258 winner and top amateur overall for the 2nd race in a row, Vance Francis. Man, getting it done 2 races in a row. It was exciting watching you guys battle out there today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh, yeah. Me and I think 262, we was back and forth all day, and another rider, too, on a Husqvarna. We was all 3 battling back and forth. I made all kinds of mistakes, but was able to come out with a win.
Vance, I was talking to you a little bit before we brought you up on the podium. You said this is kind of your first season really giving it a full-time go for GNCC. You came out in Florida, weren't really sure what you were getting yourself into, a little bit unprepared, but you've raced your way into shape and raced your way into 2 top amateur overalls in a row, so things are really starting to go your way. You're going to stick around for the rest of the season and try and contend for this class championship and possibly the overall amateur award for the season?
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we can make it 3 in a row at the next round.
So now this being, you said you're from Kentucky. This is a pretty close race for you. You got some friends and family here, and I'm sure you got a bunch of people you want to thank for helping you get this $125 check from American Cargo that's going to help you with some fuel money and get you to the next round in New York.
Yeah, I want to thank the man above for keeping me safe, most importantly, and my mama, papa, mom and dad, AST, Reeling Graphics, Dunlop, and I believe that's it.
Well, there he is, folks, your overall amateur, your 258 class winner, Vance Francis.
All righty, congratulations to you, Vance, and thanks to American Cargo for providing that $125 to our top amateur. And, wow, what a day, man. We were talking about it coming into this one. Today could be the game changer as we head into the heart of the series, this 5th round of 13 rounds of racing. And though we're not at the midway point of the year, we're approaching, and already things are starting to look pretty interesting as far as the rest of the year are concerned, especially if things continue the way that they were today. Look for great weather. We had it today, beautiful sunshine after those rains on Friday and Saturday, and presented to us a perfect and ultimately one of the greatest races we've seen, well, the greatest race we've seen so far in 2015. So that's pretty much going to do it for us here today. Just want to say thanks to everybody that helped out here today with the RacerTV.com crew. You guys did another excellent job. Thanks again to Johnny Gallagher, my sidekick here today, and also to Megawatt Matt Watson for all his hard work and the efforts that he puts in, doing a great job as well. And on behalf of all those folks and all of us from the GNCC Racing Nation and GNCC Live, I'm Rodney Tomlin saying good day, everybody.